All right, I think we're live. So welcome everyone to another Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. I hope you're all having a great weekend here. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Like all the other usual live streams, we're going to go for about 2 hours or so. I'll give priority answer to anyone who has a super chat or a super thanks, as well as anyone who's a member there with the green usernames. They will always get that priority answering. If you would like that priority answering as well, there's always a link in the description. But anyway, so welcome everyone, and our repeat. Thank you so much for the first super chat of the night here, and I think your first super it says as well. So thank you so much. It says no questions, just thanks for hanging on with the channel. I I really appreciate that. And it was a fun weekend until a couple hours ago we got home and came home to find a fridge. We were on a little trip this weekend. Came home to find a fridge that wasn't working and is just ruined all the food over the weekend. And apparently the fridge is just going to need replaced because word of advice. Now I'm going to branch out into appliance reviews here. LG and Samsung are like garbage, and like we have a 6-year-old LG that just broke, and apparently the linear compressor in these are like there's a whole class action lawsuit. LG, they're just like not very good, and yeah, 6-year-old refrigerator is going to need replaced because to do the labor and the parts and everything would cost basically the same as a new fridge and take way longer. So yeah, came home to that, not great. So if you take away anything from the live stream here tonight, do not buy an LG or Samsung refrigerator. Please save yourself the grief that I've just been through in the past few hours here. But anyway, so I really appreciate the support there for hanging on with the channel. It's yeah, this just trying to keep up with that, and then now I'm gonna have to shop for a fridge, and I mean that's life though. We all have our little struggles that pop up and stuff. So don't don't have any sympathy for me, but just please don't buy an LG or Samsung refrigerator. But anyway, and I'll see if there's any follow-ups to that. If anyone has any other opinions or thoughts or recommendations, I think we're going to probably get a GE. It's just my quick Googling seems like that's probably one of the better brands these days. But if you have any other experience or other ones to stay away from, please, by all means, I welcome all appliance reviews. If you don't mind going off on a detour here tonight, we'll get back to cars here quickly. But I see Mike's got the first comment here. He said, "Hey man, I saw that apparently the reason Tim Kuniskis retired was because he had made a case to Tavares to keep the V8s alive and keep buying carbon credits, but Tavares basically said no." Interesting. I hadn't heard that. That's really a way to go out if it's really like that big of a deal. I mean, I feel like if that were the case, then it would be hard for me to believe that Tim would have been selling the EVs as hard as he was. I mean, he was literally in this like long, little like movie they made whenever the Charger debuted, and I feel like he wouldn't be selling the electric thing as hard as he did if he didn't believe in it. So I kind of don't buy that personally. I mean, it would be a great way, to save his name, or people who want to toss him a bone and be like, oh, he's this rebel that went out with the V8s. But he was excited about the electric stuff, unless that was all a charade. But I genuinely think he wouldn't be putting himself in the movies and stuff for the Charger if he didn't really have a passion for those. So to me, the mystery continues. We will see. I'd love to hear an official, response from him someday, and I'm sure he'll talk at some point down the road. Who knows? But interesting theory, though. I see everyone else says good evening from checking in from Arizona, Florida, all over here. And Rochelle says, "Hey man, I saw a Reddit post on the Cars subreddit today. The person asked what the worst breakdown you had was. Do you have any breakdown horror stories?" Yeah, I think the worst one for me is when the Mini left me stranded, honestly. It was smoking and just overheating, just not a great experience. And I filmed that, and it's the video is I think called "Bad Day in the Mini" or something like that. If you search on the channel for "Bad Day in Mini," should come up, and you'll see me vlogging on the side of the road about 300 feet from a strip club in the middle of the day, just with my hood up, waiting for a tow or for it to cool down. And then I kind of limped it home, and it was a whole thing. But yeah, that was definitely the worst. And it was just me trying to baby because for a while there wasn't like really any good place to pull over. So it was like telling me it was overheating, and I was just trying to like, limp it as far as I could to get to a good turnoff spot. But that was no fun. The other horror story as far as breakdowns goes is just when I was a kid, my parents had a 1988 Ford Tempo, left us stranded so many times. I have vivid memories of sitting in hot parking lots in the middle of summer, just sitting with the door open in the car, just sitting there waiting for a tow truck. And those types of things just weren't fun. Having an unreliable car really sucks. So that's part of the reason why I think, like so many YouTubers, like they make, a living out of, oh no, look at me, I'm stuck, with a crappy car on the side of the road again. Haha, that's hilarious. And like, I should have played the mini that way in hindsight. I should have just kept it and let the whole thing just like fall to pieces and vlog it all and have everyone, go for the ride with me there. But I just like my personality type. I'm like, I don't want to be in an unreliable car. I want to have the peace of mind that I can get to where I'm going without issue. And just yeah, not a fan of unreliable cars, honestly. And Jazz says Matt had some problems with the Mini Cooper, as I recall. Okay, yeah, and the tree fell on the different car. Yeah, I guess that's not so much a breakdown as far as that's more just like an accident that was insane. But yeah, definitely the craziest one for sure. And Estevan, thank you so much for another super chat. He says the mini playlist is one giant breakdown from start to finish, an excellent but sad saga. There you go. I appreciate the plug for the mini playlist there. That was back when I was combining also the weekly update kind of thing with the mini updates there. But yeah, that was one wild ride. Thanks for watching through the playlist there, Savannah as well. It's yeah, it's a very good summary the way you summed it up. You're dead on the money there. And thanks again for the super chat. And let me see. Jazz says, "Okay, everyone, hit the thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate that. It always does help." And Jazz says, "Where is Matt with his cats?" Yeah, no cats here tonight. But maybe Beth will make an appearance here sometime soon and bring the cats in as well. But we just I've been driving all day today, so I think she just wants us kind of chill and get ready for the week. Luke says, I've had to sit in Georgia since Thursday because this place didn't have room for my tanker. Luckily, I got paid an extra $1,900 in hourly pay, so I'm not too upset. I'm in Tennessee now. Man, well, sorry you weren't able to get home. That's a bummer. I feel like those are the types of things that like they should have planned for, especially if it's going to cost them $1,900 in extra pay. That's crazy, but hope it works out for you, Luke. But at least you're coming out, hopefully financially ahead at least. So that's a partial win, I'm sure. And Wait Man says, happy Sunday, everyone. Estevan says he's been looking at whirlpools himself. Okay. Yeah, I've heard some pretty good things about Whirlpool as well. So I'll look into those too. Strass says, greetings from DFW. Go Mavs. Sounds good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in the sports world. So I don't know if there's a close game going on or something, but hope you all enjoy the sports. FR8 says, never get a Samsung. Ours broke this weekend too. Oh, man. All right. Well, then I guess you are right there. You feel my pain very exactly. So sorry to hear that yours broke as well. Hopefully, at least our pain is everyone else's gain with skipping out on the crappy fridges, and everyone's a slightly more informed consumer of refrigerators after tonight. And Luke says, I use GE or Whirlpool. Okay, good to know. All right, so we're sensing a theme here. Whirlpool and GE are the way to go. Jay says, hey, Matt, hope all the Marans are in good health. Thank you. We're all doing well, thankfully. So that is, even though the fridge is out, at least we have our health. That is always the most important thing. Jazz says, I have an LG television. Is that okay? I mean, I'm not an expert on LG stuff. From the quick stuff that I've seen online tonight, it seems like LG's other stuff isn't amazing, but isn't the worst either. But it just seems like the fridges in particular, they have just a flawed design for the compressor in the fridges. And so the fridges are the most problematic LG thing. I'm sure your TV's okay. It just seems like maybe this is, I feel like I've been hearing this a lot. So I know I'm not alone, but it just seems like nothing is built well anymore. Like nothing, like everything has glitches and issues. And maybe some of it's because everything's so computerized these days that introduces extra points of failure, which seems like nothing holds up. Nothing, like, I don't know what happened. Like, I know there's hardworking people on assembly lines and in factories building this stuff. But I guess it's just, everyone's just so profit hungry. They just like use crappy materials and crappy quality and just cut every corner they can. I'm sure it's not the workers' fault. It's just, the uppers that, decide these, corner cutting things. But it's just, not to go on like a rant, but it just, man, it seems like the just absolute greed with corporate greed is just ruining everything. And it's just like something needs to come in and regulate this stuff and like stop the corner cutting, because it seems like most companies do it and it's just like, oh, like now it's just normal to buy a fridge every 6 years instead of like every 10 or 20. I feel like it used to be for fridges. I mean, there's like, old like 80s fridges in like pastel colors that like I feel like are still running strong. It's just like, and they made all these companies still made profits back then too. It's just like, I don't know. I can't figure it out, but it seems like I can't shake the feeling that like every single thing that's built, even some cars, I feel like cars, again, it's the extra complexity as well. But I think there are some cars that seem like they do still hold up really well, as we've seen with some of these, like couriers and stuff that put hundreds of thousands of miles on them. But time will tell as far as all the other components in these cars. But like, just especially appliances, TVs, like all that stuff, like it's all just junk these days. Like, man, like, I always want to talk about like a cheap car company that like has roll up windows and radios. I like want to do like an appliance company that like, maybe it's a little bit more, but like I like literally like take you through a walkthrough of like I use the top, finest components for like wiring, for the hinges, for whatever, every single component, and charge a slight premium, but like make it well known like you're paying for a quality product with this, and this isn't just like another one of the usual idiots out there that are building garbage. And I don't know. I feel like there's a case to be made for a good company that's not like a luxury crap, thing, but like actual good, well-made products. Like then someone needs to come up with a new brand of just like actual good, well-made stuff. Anyway, I won't rant and rave about my annoyances with appliances too long tonight. But let me see. Posing Figure says, rule of thumb, buy your appliances from appliance companies, not tech companies. That I think, I've been really I agree. I've been seeing some of that as well. And I think that is a very good rule to live by. Yeah. Michelle says, we had to replace our Whirlpool fridge. It was 7 years old last year. We got an LG with a smart inverter compressor, so hope it's better than the linear ones. Yeah, maybe. I saw, though, that they said the part of the class action lawsuit with LG is that they are still installing the faulty part in new ones. So maybe you got a different one if it's a smart inverter versus the linear inverter. Hopefully, I hope for your sake that, you got a good one. If nothing else, budget for another 6 years or so, and then it sucks because they had like cool ones. They had like the whiskey like ice ball kind of things and stuff you could make, and they had some cool stuff. But sounds like it's all just junk, unfortunately. As Savannah says, second channel idea, appliance reviews. Mike says Whirlpool or Frigidaire. Okay, yeah. So I appreciate the tips. Kyle says GE all the way. Yeah, and I read like there's like actual like refrigerator repairmen, or like, if I had to put more money into a fridge, it would be a GE as well. Again, that was a few anecdotal things. Obviously, we'll just have to see, what the best deals are, relatively speaking. But I'm not going to go cheap because, again, I'd rather spend a few $100 extra and have something that's going to last longer than a few years. But anyway, Austin says, hey, man, happy Sunday. Finally got the 500 Abarth fully sorted. I'm really enjoying the car. That's awesome. Glad you're enjoying it. Glad that your issues with a problematic machine are behind you. So that's great. And let me see. He says the cheapest GE appliances are made in Mexico and have lower quality control. The middle to upper level models are made in Louisville, Kentucky, and much better. Okay, great info. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, all right, I'll have to hopefully there's a way to tell on the tag or something where they're built. That is good to know. Thank you, man. You guys just you're giving me all kinds of great info here, and I really appreciate it. Hopefully everyone else is learning a lot here. But man, I was not expecting a bunch of car enthusiasts to have this much of a wealth of information about appliances. This is great. V Mitchell, I feel like I should be super chatting you guys tonight. Like, I wish I could find a way to like just give memberships to everyone that's helping me out here with great advice, but I don't have any way to do that. Unfortunately, YouTube's still being dumb about not letting me gift memberships. I don't think. Yeah. Anyway, but B. Mitchell says, Nick's either Whirlpool or Frigidaire. I've got a 1954 International Harvester fridge in the garage, better than the one at the house. Yeah. Well, and supposedly this is another thing too that I've been hearing, because my sister just had to get a new fridge like a couple of months ago, and she said that like a lot of people are actually searching out used fridges because they get colder. Apparently, some of these newest fridges, like because of the way they have to be so energy efficient now, they aren't able to get as cold, and some people are like just not happy with the performance of them anymore, and people are actually going and hunting down used old ones that weren't built to those same efficiency standards, and also were not built with the crappy LG stuff or whatever. So if you've got an impressive old vintage fridge there, you might see those start to appreciate, just because they'll actually work. Crazy stuff. But anyway, Jay says, I've been looking into more into selling my FK8 Type R and getting into a used 2001 IS300. Hopefully the 2JZ GE is good, has 200,000 plus miles, and hopefully it lasts. Any thoughts? I mean, 2JZs are pretty legendary, right? I mean, I'm not sure about the GE variant, but I mean, I feel like IS300s last forever. That's part of why they are so valuable still, I think. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with a 2JZ. I'm not an expert on them by any means, but the little bit I know about them, I mean, honestly, any Lexus with 200,000 miles, I still wouldn't worry about, to be completely honest, as long as the maintenance has been done well. I would have no concerns with getting an old Lexus if it's been maintained and taken care of. I think it's totally fine. And Jorge, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, best luxury-ish interior with a hybrid powertrain, maybe PHEV if it can practically charge on 110 volts. I guess it depends on the segment, so I'll keep an eye out if you have a follow-up there as far as the segment you're looking at. But the first thing that jumped into my mind when you said that was Mazda CX-90, or I guess now CX-70 as well. Either one, PHEV would probably be the way to go. Because it's just Mazda, the great value, well-built cars, it seems, that's are super luxurious. I actually currently have a CX-70 Turbo S for the week here, and we just drove it to DC and back this weekend, and they're so nice. And I'll have some follow-up thoughts in the video, so I'm not going to ruin the whole video, but it's really good. And I mean, I really enjoyed the plug-in hybrid, with that new powertrain that I did last year in the CX-90. So if you're looking through a crossover, that's the way to go. If you're not going through a crossover versus hybrid stuff, yeah, so if you have a specific segment in mind, so I don't have to rattle through all of them, just because it's going to take me a minute here to figure out everything for every segment. But I think for sedans, probably I'd say mainstream sedans, I see the Accord is the most luxurious. And yeah, that's obviously hybrid as well. If you're going for like other like two-row SUVs, that's a little bit of a tougher one. I mean, I'd probably say in that kind of a segment, I mean, Santa Fe is really cool now. The new interiors on those, you go for the hybrid version of that. It could be a cool one. Trying to think of others. Yeah, those are the only ones that like jump out to me immediately. Yeah, but I think I'm really impressed with Mazdas in general. Unfortunately, as far as sedans goes, there's no hybrid option there. But Mazda is really one of my favorite like budget, mainstream brands that is actually very luxurious feeling and really nice. So I will keep an eye out, Jorge, if you have other follow-up questions as far as this segment or any other context you want to provide, be more than happy to narrow it down. You can also send me a message and we can, figure it out there. Because always happy to help people find exactly what they're looking for. And thank you, Jorge, again for the super chat. And let me see, getting back to the member questions here. So, Savon says, hard to find an IS300 that hasn't been beaten on. Yeah, that's true. IS300s are rare stock, and I think that's why they're getting so expensive for the ones that aren't beat, and haven't been turned into drift cars and all that kind of stuff. But if you can find a nice one, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to review it. I've never driven one, honestly. And Trent Carger says, I don't have many car breakdown stories, but I got plenty of trucking breakdowns, I'm sure. Man, today on the highway, there was an 18-wheeler. Usually, the tires start to shred on those before the whole thing just pops. But this one, like the whole tire, it didn't even look like it was flat. It just came clear off the rim. I didn't watch that happen, but Waze, I love Waze. I don't know, everyone's favorite map apps, but Waze to me on road trips is still the best because it tells you about every object on the road. People always mark everything. They are still so solid as far as the cop alerts and stuff. I love Waze. But anyway, so Waze is like, there's an object on the road ahead. And sure enough, I'm like, wow, it's a whole tire, a whole 18-wheeler tire. And then sure enough, another quarter mile down the road, there's an 18-wheeler pulled over with it's sitting on the rim for the one wheel, which was crazy. That first time I think I've ever seen that. And I'm sure you got all kinds of stories. Be fun to hear someday. Savannah says also, I believe they come with the base JZ motor and a turbo, but can be built up or swapped. Yeah, it should be still solid internals. I'm sure you can, do whatever you want. He says also the manuals are super hard to come by. The new LGs are supposed to be better, but I'd skip. Okay, well, good to know about the fridges, but yeah, I'm not taking a chance on those again. And MD Can says, "Sup, Matt? Got a massive surprise for you. Let me see. I'll keep an eye out for the follow up there. Michelle says, 100% agreed. Appliances don't hold up the same anymore. Glad it's. I guess I wish it was just me, because then everyone else would not be as miserable with their appliances as I seem to be recently. But yeah, it's a shame. I feel like it would be a good business opportunity to introduce something that's better. I don't know. And Luke says, when I moved into my first house 2 years ago, the 5-year-old Samsung fridge broke 1 week after I moved, and the Samsung washer and dryer broke 1 month after, and they were 8 years old. Jeez. Yeah. I mean, at least with this fridge, we didn't buy it because we just moved into the house and it was already here. But just still just not fun. You move into a house oh, I got new appliances, I guess it'll be great, I'll be set for a while. Foolish thoughts apparently these days. Nothing lasts. And Jordan, thank you so much for a super chat. He says Toyota Insignia front grille durability, road debris, etc. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's going to be the same as any other EV or anything else that kind of has a more blocked off front end. Nothing about it seems super fragile to me. I would hope that Toyota's also, done the durability testing and all that stuff to make sure that it holds up. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing about that design struck me as problematic, but I'll have to think. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything that would be not holding up well, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be totally fine. I mean, our Mach-E, the entire front end is plastic, and that's been fine. It's just a bug magnet. It's not the best, but honestly, in some ways, it's easier to clean because it's just a flat surface versus the Bullet had all those little grates, and I had to try and pick bugs out of it and stuff. It's a little bit easier. It's just a flat piece of plastic, honestly. But thank you, Jordan, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad to see the Signia video did actually better than I was expecting. I thought that was going to kind of flop, and I mean, it's not blowing up or anything, but it's doing better than I thought, so I'll take it. And let me see. Yeah, Jay's talking about some other stuff here. MD Can says, my dad still has a Kenmore fridge that's at least 15 years old. I know he had it when I was real young, not even 10. Yeah, I mean, all that old stuff is great. Someone needs to just make a store that just sells old appliances that still work well. Yeah, it might not have all the fancy fun new features, but if you just want reliability, I feel like any of those old brands, even the ones that might have not been the best back then, are probably still miles better than all the crap out there right now from a reliability standpoint. But Vishal says Whirlpool appliances overall are a good call. We have a Whirlpool washer dryer coming up on 9 years. We've had no issues with. Okay, that's good to know. That's great. Yeah, I mean, all our other appliances, knock on wood, are GE in this house, and they've all been pretty good. The washer had one little like sensor that went out, and that actually was easy enough that I was able to fix it myself. And I'm not a handy person, but I was able to like figure it out and fix it on my own. And that was the only thing. And apparently that just like I don't think that goes every once every 5 or 10 years or something, but it's at least one part, and it's not like you have to replace the whole thing. And it was like not that expensive. It was like a $30 part or something too, so it wasn't too bad. So pretty happy with GE, but yeah, I'm open to Whirlpool. Glad to hear that they've been good to you. And Newton says my Whirlpool fridge is over 20 years old. Yeah, so that must be the old gen stuff when they actually built stuff well. So but glad to hear another Whirlpool holding up. That's good to see. And B. Mitchell says Maytag used to be indestructible, but went Tango uniform because nobody wanted to pay more for better quality. They got gobbled up by Whirlpool, if I believe, or if I recall. Yeah, I think I was reading that Maytag, maybe it's like a Mana. And yeah, I think Whirlpool, I think they're all kind of like, the same thing now. B. Mitchell said, International Harvester fridges and freezers had a 100-year duty cycle based on my 47 kV pickup. Ditto for their vehicles. Wow. Yeah, man. Why doesn't anyone make anything? I guess it's just about people don't want to pay the extra money. It's a shame. Luke says next week this will be the living room furniture podcast. Hopefully my living room furniture holds up better than my appliances do, but I mean, yeah, I guess no guarantees. At least living room furniture is cheaper. And if you at least do it the way we do, we got IKEA stuff when we moved in because it's like we have a little kid and it's gonna all get destroyed anyway. So that was a casualty I'm already accepting if it comes to that. But Cam Jump says 450,000 subs, acceleration compilation. Yeah, I should probably do it. And thank you. Yeah, I'm happy we hit 450,000 subscribers. Yeah, as far as an acceleration compilation, that would be something I can probably do another one this summer because I'll probably be 50 years old by the time I get to 500,000 subscribers. So the growth has been very slow. So I mean, I could probably try and do another one. At this point, been years since I did one of those, so I should probably do another one. That'd be fun. I'll add that to my to-do list. I got a packed summer of reviews and stuff, but I will try and find some time to get a acceleration compilation in there for those that still enjoy those. And thanks, Cam Jam, for the congrats there. Austin says old car AC systems used to blow colder as well. Yeah, I mean, maybe there are some for sure. I feel like modern cars, they do a pretty good job of keeping you cooled. At least the stuff that I've tested, I've never had. I think there might have been a couple where it's just weird why I just have to turn down the climate control lower, where I'm like, in some vehicles, it seems like 70 just isn't 70 like it is in other vehicles or whatever. Aside from that, it seems like most of them seem to be okay to me. Even in like our Mach-E, for example, being electric, maybe you think they try and go more efficient or something like that, still gets like nice and cold. So, yeah, I don't know. But B. Mitchell says, I can't put bottled water in my corn binder fridge because it will freeze water, not in the freezing compartment. Man, it sounds, man, you got to like put that fridge on like Cars and Bids or something. People would I feel pay top dollar for that stuff, especially if it works well. That is, you got a gem there. I'm jealous of your refrigerator, and also they probably look super cool too, which is another reason why I'd love it. Cam is asking, will Beth be joining tonight? She won't. Yeah, we were on the road all day today, driving back from DC, so she's just gonna be chilling and getting ready for the week. But she'll join again soon because I know it's been a little while since she's been on here. And let me see. Jazz says the Mazda red Soul red color seems like no other color in any car. Some other red cars get close, but the Soul red of Mazda seems like a very beautiful shade. It is gorgeous, and that's actually the shade of paint that we have on the CX-70 we have this week, and it is a gorgeous red. I think it's actually probably my favorite red. I think the Italian Racing red on the F-Type gives it a run for its money because that's also a very deeper metallic red that's really nice. On the F types, it's really good. There's also like a regular red on the F types. It's not as nice, but if you pay like $2,000 extra for the Italian racing red, that's a really nice color too. And then who else does a really good red? I mean, Ferrari does some really good reds as well. Also, Aston Martin. Like, I can't remember what the red is called for Aston Martin, but it is like a gorgeous red that the handful of times I've seen them in person in the sun, it's just like, man, nothing like gets me excited like an Aston Martin. Really, those, especially in those exciting colors, are just gorgeous, gorgeous cars. I actually have a model. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah, but it's down there by the WRX fan plate of you see it in the weekly updates all the time. The DBS in that red color. And Zachary says, "Hey, I won't be too active tonight since I'm having birthday festivities. My wife and kids got me a Tri-Bar Pony Mustang shirt and old school looking Ford V8 hoodie. Here's a 34." Well, happy 34th birthday, Zachary. I hope you have a great one. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. But huge happy birthday celebration here for Zachary. I hope you have a great day. And yeah, thanks for sharing. Let me see. Jordan, thank you for another super chat. He says 2020 BMW M340i. Genius is affordable. Maybe meant X-Drive. Thoughts on the Genius grill? I'm not sure what you mean by Genius. The grill is an active grill shutter, which definitely helps, with efficiency and stuff. Although that's another extra part that could, potentially fail at some point. But unless is it called a Genius grill? I'm not sure if I'm out of the loop on a BMW thing or something. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the M340i video from yesterday. I was glad to finally get my hands on one and try one out. It's a good car. I really enjoyed it. It sounds great, and I can definitely understand the hype now on those. And Jordan, if you have a follow explanation or question there in regards to what you mean with the grill there, I'd be happy to keep an eye out there and answer that for you. And Jorge, thank you for another super chat. He says maybe you should do a fridge first dive video with your signature cackle. Not sure about a Cybertruck. Yeah, well, I feel like someone should make a Cybertruck fridge because and I mean like a fridge that looks like a Cybertruck, not a fridge to put in a Cybertruck. Although I guess that would also be probably a fine idea as well. But yeah, do a first open of the new fridge. It's funny. Speaking of fridges, fun little fact: if you're a Back to the Future fan like I am, they originally were going to use a fridge for the time machine before they decided on the DeLorean. But I don't know why that made me think of that. But anyway, Jorge, thank you for another super chat. I really appreciate it. And getting back to the member questions here. So MD Can says Waze is awesome. I swore by Google Maps until I tried Waze, never going back. Yeah, and it's great because like Waze for a while, I feel like people were kind of starting to leave Waze after Google bought them and stuff. And people, I think Google's been kind of adding in some of that stuff. Even like Apple Maps has like speed check alerts sometimes. But like the Waze community, it's just like we all got each other's backs. Like, everyone's diligent about like marking stuff and getting rid of stuff that's not there anymore. And, upvoting the stuff that is still there. And it's really cool. I absolutely still love Waze. And MD Can says the surprise is another car. Brought home a 2021 Kona Knight to complement my 22N, as well as take over as a daily while I turn my N to a full show car. Sweet. That's awesome. Well, congrats. And, I hope you enjoy the new Kona as well. That's awesome. I'm excited to see what you do with the N. And yeah, send in some new pictures once you got it all finished. We can do it as a new member car of the week and start those back up. By the way, anyone else, if you're a member and you want to have your car showcased in member car of the week, we haven't done it for a little while because I don't have any new cars to post. But anyone like to send them in, we can get that going again, and I can show off some new cars that some of the members have here. And Truck and Car Guy says, I've personally had one of these steering tires let go in a truck in the middle of a construction zone. By the time I limped the truck off the road, it was down to the rim. Man, that is crazy. I can't imagine the stress and the worry of that, especially when you're talking about something that big in a construction zone, no less. That is crazy. Also, speaking of construction zones, is another crazy thing. we were driving to DC on Friday afternoon. We were in like the longest traffic I've ever been in as a driver before. We were sitting standstill for at least an hour, I think. And it was all just because there was a down power wire that went across the Parkway East if you're in Pittsburgh, heading towards the turnpike. And it's just like a down power wire. I'm like, why does it take an hour to clear a down power wire on a major highway? The entire highway was shut down over that. And it was like, I also didn't love, we were stuck on one of the bridges, and one of the other Pittsburgh bridges just, collapsed like, I don't know, a year or two ago. So hanging on a bridge in standstill traffic for over an hour was not a great experience, but thankfully it finally got cleared and moved. But it was, I felt bad for anyone that actually had like a time crunch or had to use the bathroom, because it was just like we were just sitting there for like an hour, nowhere to go, nothing to do, and there was a construction zone right in the middle. And I was laughing because there was like one of the construction guys was walking down. None of us could see what was going on, and the guy, just like every other car, would like stop and be like, "Yeah, like it was a down power wire." He's like, "I'm gonna start charging you guys to like give you the info on what's going on here." He's like, "I'm going home," and he was like, there was like a construction lane in the middle there, and he was just hopping in his car and driving away. And I was like, man, I am jealous of his freedom right now because we are stuck in this gridlock. But again, bigger problems in the world. But man, just all kinds of things out there these days to screw us up. And let me see. Cam Jam says, I have a 2-year-old Samsung washer and dryer. The dryer broke and lost heat and wouldn't stop spinning. And the haptic feedback control panel was broke. Man. All right. So yeah, it really seems like this is the consensus. Someone needs to like make a viral video that like just bashes Samsung and LG to like get the info out there so that everyone knows to not buy these, and then maybe they will finally do the right thing or just get out of the business if they don't want to bother with making good products instead of burning everyone. I feel like there's a warranty on some of this stuff. If it's 2 years old, I feel like there's warranty, because I know the LG fridge, they're saying if it's less than 2 years old, they'll give you a new one. But then beyond that, I guess some of the other parts are warranted for 10 years, but it's a whole like runaround as far as the coverage for those parts. But yeah, there needs to be like some consumer protection action done or something to like, I don't know, like someone like divide up the entire Samsung appliance division and then refund the difference to everybody out there, just like split up however many billions of dollars the company's worth for for the appliance division, and then just send it out in checks to everyone who bought a Samsung appliance. If there's any justice in the world, that's the way it would go. Anyway, and B Mitchell says, Matt, one thing about selling the Bullet is that you won't watch it get road debris damage. Of the 50 cars I've had, nothing got more gravel gouges on the nose than my 19 Mustang GT. Yeah, there's a few tiny little things. That's why I love the Expel paint protection film on that, because it saved a bunch of that. It still, got a couple of dings here and there, but yeah, I mean, to me, like road debris, yeah, it's not great to see, a car get dinged up, but to me, I almost look at them as like battle scars. They're like points of pride for me of like how much I've driven the vehicle that like it's got road rash on it. Maybe I'm weird for looking at it that way, but that's like for me. The same thing with like lots of miles on a vehicle. Like I wear that as like a badge of honor of like this car's made it this far. It's gotten, these dings or whatever, because it's had a life well lived. It's kind of the hope there. As I drink my room temperature tap water here, thanks to not having a fridge or an ice maker as a result as well. Let me see. So Jay says, also, I actually really, really enjoyed the CX-5 review video you did. It reminded me of how everything old but refreshed was such a great timing we had, instead of climate controls going into submenus. I agree. I think CX-5 is really, there's rumors of a new one coming here in the next, I think, year or two, but like, it's, to me, it's like the forerunner of the compact SUV segment, because it's so good. It's still like, it just does everything so well. And yeah, I agree. It's like a sweet spot. And I think people just like want that. And I was thinking about this even before the fridge thing today, just like thinking about how like, I feel like there's a real like strong growing movement of people who just want simple stuff. Like, I don't want any of my appliances to be smart. I don't want any of my stuff to be connected. I want like simple old like just normal things. Like I don't need new features on things like a washer and a dryer. It needs to wash my clothes and dry my clothes. My refrigerator needs to keep my stuff cold. That's it. I don't need to like be able to play with it on my phone with an app. I don't want to do any of this stuff. I don't know whoever asked for this stuff. Maybe it was just like another like easy profit margin thing of like, oh, we'll raise the prices and give you new features that no one actually wants. But again, like International Harvester needs to come back and just make refrigerators just get super cold and do nothing else. Um, and anyway, I keep going back on this. Clearly, you can tell my angst here because I got to go out and spend a couple grand on a fridge tomorrow. But anyway, let me see. Oh, sorry, I missed the other super chats here. So Jordan, thank you for another super chat. He says thoughts on the Genesis front grill. Gotcha. Okay, Genesis grill. I think their grills are really cool. I like the shapes of them, and obviously that's another like egg crate kind of design, so a little bit more cleaning intensive. But I love Genesis styling has been fantastic. I think they're all like home runs from a styling standpoint. And yeah, I love the Genesis front ends there. And Jordan, thank you for another super chat. He says, Tom, hashtag got the hell out of Dodge. You mean Tim. That's it. He did. That is exactly what he did. And hopefully we'll have some info someday as to why for Tim Kaniskis there. And let me see. See where I left off here on the questions here. So Luke says, my 2020 TLX AC is ice cold. The worst car AC I've dealt with is my grandparents' '08 Chevy Impala. Interesting. And B. Mitchell says, mentioned the road next to a Shelby America rep at Barrett Jackson in January, and he fully agreed. Says a lot of their customers see the same thing. Must be a softer plastic on the front valance. Yeah, I mean, probably more, cost cutting stuff. I know Subaru, people complain all the time about Subaru paint like flaking off and just being crappy as well. Again, it's just like, paint bumpers, like just make it well, like, oh man. And let me see. Triton Car Guy says, speaking of old things being more reliable, the Magnum is at 230,000 miles and still going strong. Awesome. Yep, there you go. I am really like, I don't know if it's an age thing or what, but I'm like, yeah, the more time that goes on, I'm like, give me the old reliable. That's all I want. And Vishal says, I did read that the LG smart inverter compressors are better, less complex designs. We'll see how it holds up. Great. Well, I'm glad you did some research on it, Vishal. I wish that the previous owners of this house did their own research on the LGs before they bought it. But hopefully it holds up well for you. That's good to know. Maybe after this new fridge runs its course, maybe we'll see in 10 or more years, hopefully, if LG's got their act together then. But I think they've burned me for now. B. Mitchell says, you'd be surprised how much an International Harvester fridge goes for out here in the Midwest. The secret is out. Electricity hogs, mind you, but the damn things work. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's worth it to have something actually work. And let me see. B. Mitchell also says a Cybertruck is a fridge wouldn't last as long as a crappy LG. Very good point. That is a good one. MD Can says, I'll shoot some pics over to you for the car of the week. So sweet. And yeah, you were saying that as I was saying it as well. So great minds. Luke says, I'm looking forward to the Civic Hybrid Hatch. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it as well. I was not on the media launch. They were just in Montreal driving that here this past week. I wasn't on that one, but I'm hoping to get one here in the press fleet relatively soon. I'm scheduled out already until basically August, so it's going to be sometime beyond August probably for one of those, unless something gets swapped last minute or something. But I'm excited to cover those soon. Because I think it's going to be hopefully great as long as they priced it well. We'll see about pricing, but outside of that, hopefully it'll be a good car. Triton Car Guy says, welcome to DC traffic. Yeah, I was glad to get out of the DC traffic today. It is not fun. It's still one of the most aggravating places to drive, in my opinion. Just the DC traffic is always gets under my skin one way or another. Jordan, thank you for another super chat. And Kyle, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships as well. I really appreciate that. Glad to see everyone's able to grab those. But thank you for your generosity, Kyle. It means a lot. And so Jordan, thank you for the super chat. He says, thoughts on Lucid Gravity launch. So I mean, did they say end of this year for Gravity Ride? I think was the original plan, and if maybe they've changed that since, but I thought that was the hope, at least, was sometime before the end of this year. I mean, Gravity seems really cool. I got to see, the reveal last year, and yeah, I think it'll be exactly what Lucid needs, and I hope that they continue to be able to stay around as a company, and yeah, we'll see. I know some people don't love Lucid's financing situation, both just as far as like if they can actually make it long term, and also just like the supporters that they have from a financial standpoint for Lucid isn't. I mean, I haven't done all the research on it, so I can't speak as an authority, but apparently there's some problematic stuff there. But it seems like they have brilliant motor designs. I think their cars are good, and so I hope that they get everything sorted out, and I hope the Gravity goes well for them. And let me see. So, where was I? B. Mitchell says, the trick with modern appliances is don't get one with a processor in it. Stick to the basics. You don't need to pair your smartphone. Absolutely. Omar says, from this current generation of Silverado, how many years should I wait for them to fix all the major issues? I'm not an expert on those. I'm sure like a forum or a Reddit, page for a Silverado would probably give you some better info than I could give you. But I haven't heard of any big issues with the current generation Silverado. I mean, it's a pretty proven vehicle and motor and all that. I know there were some issues, I think, with the cylinder deactivation stuff. And if you get one of the ones that was built during the COVID period, they actually got rid of because of the chip shortage, they got rid of the stop start in some of those. So maybe that would be the play, although I'm sure you can just turn off the start stop as well and avoid it that way. If that is an actual issue, I'm not sure if that is like a widespread thing or what, but I mean, I would assume Silverado is going to be pretty reliable. So I wouldn't have any concerns with any of them, to be completely honest. I don't know of a unreliable Silverado, honestly. At least as far as the powertrain stuff goes, they seem to be pretty solid from what I have seen. Again, no expert here at all, so take it with a grain of salt. I think hopefully maybe some other people can give you some better advice on here as well. But I think going to an owner forum, Facebook page for the vehicle or something like that is always a really good way to get solid info from owners who know these vehicles inside and out and are experts far more than I am on that. And let me see. Luke says, I bought a 2011 model Whirlpool fridge. When mine broke 2 years later, it runs strong and makes ice like crazy. Awesome. So yeah, the used thing is maybe the way to go. I'll have to see if I can find something. I just feel like it's always hard. Maybe I'd love to know if there's like a good like used appliance website that is kind of like I don't even know if it's like an eBay type thing, but something that's actually got a bunch of them instead of just like Facebook Marketplace luck, which I feel like Facebook Marketplace can get crazy real fast. So but I'd be curious to hear where you found yours. It's even if it's not for my advice, but for others out there that might be looking for used appliances. And Dylan says, a while back you were talking about how you think the Mazda Inline 6 could be the new super engine. What transmission would you think would be best in that setup? I mean, it would depend on what they pair it with. I mean, Mazda, the whole reason why they did their new transmission is because for packaging reasons, they needed to do a new transmission, supposedly, that was really slim with its profile. And that opened up more interior space for them and just enabled them to engineer it the way they wanted to. I would assume, I guess, that could potentially pair up to other transmissions if you don't have those same design constraints on the other parts of the vehicle and the platform and stuff. So, but I think Toyota typically these use eyes and stuff, right, for a lot of their vehicles, and then all the ECBT stuff I think is like basically in-house. So I don't know. I mean, it could just be they end up using the Mazda transmission and find a way to hot rod it a bit to make it a little snappier and stuff. Because I mean, I don't know if it would really be great for a Supra in its current form, but you not like I want to make an excuse for it, but you look back at history, like the slush box Supras from back in the day, that didn't stop anyone from having fun with those either. So, they could just use it as is, or find something else. But yeah, I have no clue, what mates up to it, what would fit, what would work. So yeah, I feel like Toyota would probably just stick with what Mazda has already instead of trying to, come up with a new transmission. Unless there's the new GR 8-speed automatic that they use in the GR Yaris overseas. That's hopefully coming with the GR Corolla at some point as well too. But maybe that would mate up to it. I don't know. But let me see. B. Mitchell says, actually, International Harvester sold their home appliance division in 1955 to Whirlpool since they found that the industry they needed to be either all in or all out in that industry. Gotcha. Interesting. A little history lesson. That's cool. Thanks for that, V. Mitchell. And let me see. Vishal says, people complain about Mazda paint being pretty thin and shipping easily. Worst offender is the Soul Red color. Interesting. Oh, wow. That's a bummer because it's beautiful paint, but that's surprising that it chips off. I'll have to, I don't know. My sister doesn't have any issues with her Mazda stuff, I don't think. And all my neighbors have Mazdas basically, and I don't think they've ever complained about that, but I'll have to see. Because my one neighbor actually does have a Soul Red CX-5, so I'll have to see if he starts getting some chips. That's interesting. Also, Cam Jam says, washed my grandma's 03 Accord V6 Sport. It had been sitting for 3 years, only 145,000 miles. And after I washed it, it looked pretty awesome, except for the paint that was peeling pretty bad on the roof. Honda paint. Yeah, Honda paint isn't great. That's been that way for decades, though. So I guess that makes it a little more okay, because I guess you know what you're getting into there. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully you can drive it and get it back in running condition. That's great. You're able to give it a new life there, Cam Jam. And let me see. So Luke says you can install an auto stop eliminator device, which will defeat your auto stop start. Okay, cool. That is good to hear. And Mike says, hey, Matt, this may seem like an odd question, but what are some of your favorite non-performance car-based engines on sale today? That's a good question. Trying to think. I think, honestly, I really like the Mazda 2.5. It's a really punchy motor. It does more power naturally aspirated than some of the even turbo competitors in that segment do. And it just feels so torquey, and it's just paired up to a really good throttle response, so that it just feels really good. It also sounds really good. And even, they put it in the CX70 and CX90 plug-in hybrid, and that motor paired with the electric assistance, it still is really strong. I mean, you would think, that little 2.5 liter naturally aspirated motor hauling a big CX70, CX90, even I was driving around with a fully depleted battery, and it still pulls well. And it's man, that's a little workhorse, that little motor. So I love that Mazda motor. As far as others though, I mean, I think I've always just really respected the Toyota and Lexus V6 as well. I mean, it's not an amazing motor as far as drive, characteristics goes, but it seems like it's another really reliable one that runs forever. I mean, all the Toyota motors, I think anything that can go the distance, to me, if we're not talking about performance stuff, just something that is just going to run forever is the stuff that really impresses me the most. So I'd say that's probably the top ones. And Luke says, I got my used fridge at JB Appliance in Folensby, West Virginia. Okay, so I'll have to see if JB Appliance is more than a one shop kind of business, but good to hear, and I'm glad they're able to give you a good one there. I feel like used appliance stores, definitely there's a business to be made there as well. Mike says, also, do you think Toyota would try to incorporate D4S on the Mazda twin turbo inline six if they were to use it, or just keep it DI only? I think they probably just keep it DI only. They were fine to, take the BMW motors off the shelf the way they were. So I really think if we're talking about Toyota potentially having a hand in that Mazda motor all along, if that's, my hunch or just something that I feel like wouldn't be crazy to speculate on, then I would assume that they, are good with the way Mazda is tuning it. And I was able to on CX90 last year. I sat down on the lunch break place. I was able to actually sit down and chat with, I think his name's Jay Chen, who is the one of the chief powertrain engineers for Mazda, or at least Mazda North America. Um, and that's one of the things I asked him. I'm like, why do you guys only go direct injection on this motor? And I kind of talked about this a little bit, I think, in my CX90 review last year. But basically, I was like, there's a lot of other companies are going to port and direct. Like, why not do that for better longevity? And he's like, we have no longevity issues with our direct inject setup. He's like, go out to a mall parking lot and look at all the soot on all the exhaust tips. He's like, you won't see basically any on any of the Mazdas. He's like, we run them really clean, and the way that we tune it, we don't have really any carbon buildup, which I mean is an impressive claim, because like every car company with really smart engineers seems to have carbon buildup, with just direct injection. But they feel like they've cracked the code, and I'm inclined to believe them, because he's like, we look at their warranty claims for Mazda 3s, which have been running the direct injection stuff with the Sky Active for a while now. Even going back to the last generation, prior generation, and they're like, yeah, like there's no issues. It does really well, and they go again. There are motors that go long, long distance, high mileage kind of stuff, and they're fine. So he's like, we think we've tuned it well with that. Port injection isn't needed, and I don't always want to just take what they say to the bank, but when one of the top engineers says like, we figured this out, he's a smarter guy than I am, so I'm just going to take his word for it. So I would assume that Toyota would also, just say, okay, well, it should be fine, and hopefully they'll be, good with that if they end up actually using that. But yeah, because adding in like port injection is a really complicated thing that really just, you basically have to kind of overhaul the engine to add that in. That's not like a quick add typically, so that is it would just be too much work, I'm sure, to add that in. So I think it would just stay the way it is. And let me see. Jay says, I'm hoping if the 2001 IS300's 2J blows up a good bit down the road after I own it, I can swap it to JZ GTE into it for some fun. Currently, it sits at 234,000, so I'm hoping to sell my Type R soon sometime. Best of luck with that. Hope it all goes well, and hope you enjoy the IS300 if you get your hands on one of those. And sorry I missed the super chats here. Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says, push to start or manual key for the door and engine. That combo. That is also, it is a weird combo. Mercedes did that for a while too, where they're like, oh, we have a push to start, but you still got to pull your key out to get into the car. And it's like, why? I know like the S2000, it does the push to start manual key where you still have like the actual key go into the slot, and it's a real key. And you twist it and then you hit the engine start button. I thought that was actually kind of cool. I didn't have any complaints with that, but that's a rare combo. I don't know of any others that really do anything like that, but S2000 is the one that stands out in my mind. It might be the only one that did that, where it's twist and then press. But it's cool. And Bruce, thank you for a super chat as well. He says, how many NDAs do you have active right now? I have, well, I guess technically I've kind of one, but I think it's kind of past. That was just with Shell and Ferrari, because I'm doing a sponsored thing with them. Hopefully it's taking forever to work through all the details in the contract on that. But as far as, I don't usually have NDAs. Car companies never make us sign them. We have like, we agree to embargoes, and they, will be upset if you break that, but there's no NDAs that get signed whenever I get confidential information like that. So, because it's usually, again, it's under the whole, like, you're doing this for a story, and I guess maybe it's a long time ago. Maybe they tried that and journalists pushed back on signing NDAs for everything. I don't know, but yeah, I don't. It's not often that I sign an NDA. Um, so yeah, it's thankfully just the one, and even that is kind of an outlier. And thank you, Bruce, for the fun super chat. And Chad, thank you for super chat as well. He says Jordan slash Chad, decline of celebrity car endorsement. Yeah, I don't know why there aren't more endorsement deals. Maybe they just car companies didn't find an appeal in that, but that was fun and yeah, forever. I mean, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I feel like even early 2000s, you saw like celebrity endorsements, and you don't see that anymore, really. Even with car commercials, you hardly, unless it's a Super Bowl thing, you don't really see any other, yeah, celebrities with cars. But it'd be fun to see more of that. I don't know why Honda hasn't gotten John Cena to do things. Because I mean, John Cena's like doing free advertising already anyway. With he has a Type R. He just traded in for a new one, and like I hope that someone at Honda is trying or has tried to get him to do something. Because I mean, having like a Type R commercial with like John Cena like ripping it up on the racetrack in his Type R would be a cool ad. But then he'd probably do it for free since he's again. I'm sure he wouldn't do it for free, but he seems like he really likes the Type R, so I feel like it wouldn't take much convincing on his end to get him to do something like that. So that could be a fun little thing there. But yeah, it's I always thought that was a fun idea. The movie car tie-ins, the celebrity tie-ins, all that kind of stuff. And so I'd love to see more of that in the future. But thank you, Chad, for the super chat. And Hugo, thank you for being a member for 13 months now. He says you should do a review with John Cena and let him do the FU on you on top of the car. Yeah, I mean, I'd let John Cena totally, beat me in an arm wrestling competition or whatever. He seems like a really cool guy. I mean, I've never met him or anything, but yeah, I feel like John Cena seems to be pretty cool. So I'd be happy to do any video with him in the future if I ever had the opportunity. Thank you, Hugo, for being a member for 13 months. I really appreciate that. And let me see. So, Vishal says, I love the Toyota 2GR FKS 3.5 liter V6. Great sounding engine with good power and reasonably efficient. Really enjoy it in our 2021 Highlander. Nice. Yeah, it's a good motor for sure. Cam Jump says, can you tell the difference between the base inline 6 CX90 versus the Turbo S due to the 60 horsepower difference? Unfortunately, I've never driven the base models yet, or that base inline 6. And I actually talked with Mazda about this because I was on CX70 and I was having a conversation with one of the Mazda employees. And I was like just saying how like I think the base ones are such a strong value. And he was like saying like, yeah, I agree. Like I actually just had like a lower trim, base engine one. Yeah, he was, I guess, doing it for some family trip or something. He took one and he was like, wow, like even like this Mazda employee was like really impressed with the lower CX90 of that motor. And I'm like, I want to tell the story about that. I mean, I think it's a really solid value in those lower versions because you get an inline 6 for the same price as everyone else's turbo 4s or naturally aspirated V6s. And I think those lower CX9s are really well priced, honestly, for what you get. And anyway, they said they're going to hopefully put some of those lower trim CX90s and CX70s into the fleet here this fall. Excuse me. So I'm hoping I can get my hands on one of those. I will definitely try to if I can, because I'd like to see is the 60 horsepower difference that big of a deal. According to that Mazda employee I was talking to, it actually wasn't. That would be my guess as well, is that it's probably not, especially for the buyer of that vehicle, that it doesn't count every last horsepower, that it's going to be fine. I think you're going to mostly just feel the smoothness of that engine. That's going to be more noticeable. The punchiness, it's still a 6-cylinder, it's not going to have to work very hard. And again, I'll talk about this more in my CX70 week with video here because I just drove almost 500 miles in the CX70 this weekend here, the Turbo S version. But it is like, that motor is so smooth and so quiet. It's so powerful. I think it's really a masterpiece motor. And like I talked about in the CX70 review, they have now done some refinements to the smoothness of it with the transmission, I mean. And it's just, it's still not perfect. Again, I'll get into this more in my week with video. It still isn't 100% perfect. I think there's still some work to be done on the smoothness of the transmission a little bit, but it is good enough that like I mean, I think Grand Highlander does a better 3-row just from a like even softer ride and even more space and just being like a better appliance, for 3-row hauling. Grand Highlander is still the way to go, I think. But if you don't need the maximum amount of space, or there's something else about the Toyota that's a hold up for you, I really feel like CX-90 with the new transmission tuning here for the 2025 model year. I think that's probably my favorite in the segment. It's just like, man, I love the inline six, but I also love the plug-in hybrids too. They're so good. So yeah, let me see. But yeah, it's an impressive motor. And Jay says, I'm Jay. Haven't heard you advertising our Mazda brand as much, Matt. We'll be discussing this with you in a private meeting about your Toyota advertisements. Sounds good, Jay. Yeah, all the Jays that I've met have been really cool people. So, so there you go. But yeah, let me see. And Chad, thank you for another super chat. It says 2024, no car enthusiast movies. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. There might be a cool car chase in the new Bad Boys movie. I saw that, is coming out or came out already. I don't know. Maybe that could be one. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it. But yeah, I have no clue if there's anything else. I think they're still working on a new Baby Driver. I don't know if that's slated for this year or next or what, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know of any others. Maybe if anyone else wants to chime in with any others they have that are on the horizon. But yeah, I don't know of any personally. But I'm so out of the loop on movies, unfortunately, these days. And Hugo, thank you for a super chat. He says, what do you think of the new Super Snake? I don't know. I never really pay much attention to what Shelby American does because it's just another aftermarket company. Like it's not an actual official thing, So like, I don't know. I'm not into like modified cars that much these days. So like to me, I mean, I tested out like the Roush stuff and all these types of things. They're just so overpriced for what you get when you can just go to the aftermarket and do it yourself cheaper. That's really my biggest complaint. It seems like those like all the Shelby American stuff is for people who like don't want to do their own mods, and also kind of want to pass it off as like, oh, I have something special. But it's like, is it though? I mean, I guess to some people it is. I don't know. I was never impressed with any of the Shelby American stuff, honestly. But for a certain market of people, it's like, yeah, they build a handful of them, so it makes it rare. And I guess you could say maybe it's a little bit more polished with the way they do the implementation versus some of the aftermarket companies. But I mean, like honestly, like the Roush stuff wasn't super polished that I drove either. I mean, they were fine, but like it was just like the tuning calibration wasn't super great. And I feel like there's aftermarket tunes that are better and stuff. So like I don't know. I haven't even like looked into it. I saw a new one came out and I completely ignored it because it's just like to me it's another modified like rip-off package. It's $100,000 probably for a supercharger and some stripes and stuff. Just I don't know. To me, I see no appeal there. I'm waiting for the real Shelby that hopefully Ford will do. But I'm sure Shelby American is happy to get all the hype and all the sales from people that are, wanting the brand new body style Mustang and don't have the patience to wait for the proper Shelby. Yeah. And MD Can, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. I really appreciate that. Happy to see everyone was able to snatch those, and thank you for your generosity as well. And let me see other member questions here. So, where was I? So Jay said, have you seen it? Any of the new Evo 10 wrap spy shots going around social media, Evo 11, and thoughts on that? Yes, I have seen that. Actually, that someone asked that in the Discord server this week, and I got excited for a split second, and then I Googled it. It's fake. And actually, if you look in the pictures, I mean, obviously, So I think it was Car Scoops that did the debunking article, and you can see their original. They basically someone took the original spy shot from a Mitsubishi Outlander spy shot from 2019, and then just put it in this other car, and just someone was really good with AI rendering that put that in there, and you can tell there's a few little spots from now when you compare the two pictures how like the windshield of the car right behind the spy shot, like they stretched out the like camera sensor thing in the windshield too far. It's like there's no car that has a camera sensor that wide on the top of the windshield there. So I mean, if I would have looked at it more closely, I probably would have been like, "This, there's something fishy about this." But yes, those are fake. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to see a new Evo again, it's not going to happen, But this is something we're going to see a lot of going forward now with how easy it is to do these AI fakes of everything. There's going to be people trying to profit off this stuff, and it's going to be harder and harder to figure out what's real and what's fake anymore, which is a terrifying idea. But yeah, that is entirely fake. But anything that anyone wants to see the return of, there's going to be some AI, stuff out there that's going to try to, get some clicks and get some ad revenue. And I'm sure we'll see lots of that on YouTube as well. Unfortunately, though, yes, that is fake. I apologize for being the bearer of bad news there on that one. And Mike says, "Hey, Matt, I've asked before, but do you think the new subcompact Acura SUV will get the Type S treatment and possibly get the 2.0T with the 10-speed auto?" I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, because there's, a lot of times there is a Type S variant whenever there is, I mean, I guess if there's a need for it and there's a segment they want to compete in. But like with a subcompact Acura SUV, there's really no other competitors. Like MDX Type S happened because there's a lot of stuff in that segment that is performance oriented, that's sporty, that's higher end, and they can justify the higher price tags and all that. So like that makes sense. TLX Type S, obviously, there's a ton of those kind of competitors. Acura wants to get in the fray with all them, so they had to do that. Integra Type S probably happened mostly just because Type R happened. I think without Type R, you probably wouldn't have had Type S. That was just an easy kind of copy and paste in many ways. And so that's why that one happened. But if there's no existing Honda to base it off of, and there's no need for a performance HRV, they don't even have an RDX Type S, which I think would actually make more sense than the subcompact one. So if we still don't even see an RDX Type S, then I don't think you're going to see subcompact Acura. I mean, that's got to be way down the priority list for them if it ever, were to happen. So I think the chances of that are pretty slim. I mean, I think that combo would be a really fun one for sure, but I don't see that happening, unfortunately. I mean, you can get the 2.0T with the 10-speed in the RDX. I'm not sure if there's tunes for it, but if you're, okay with a bigger vehicle, that could be, potential, there. Mark says some cities have appliance stores that sell new appliances that are dented at big discounts. Might be worth a look. Yeah, the scratch and dent places, we are going to take a look at those tomorrow and see what the best deal is as far as appliances goes. Because yeah, definitely going to try and save some money there because I was not looking forward to having that. It's always the way it goes, It's like, hey, I had a good month on YouTube, got a bunch of extra ad revenue from that Miata video and stuff, and then it gets gobbled up right away by a new refrigerator, basically, because these appliances are not built to last. It's unfortunate. But I'm sure some of you can relate as well, where it's like you think you're getting ahead, you're like, all right, like I'm making some progress here, and it's like, nope, let's knock you back a few pegs again and put you right back where you started. And Cam Jam says was going to wait for Beth to ask this question, but I'm too impatient. What is your favorite Avril Lavigne song? Going to a concert with a friend later this summer. Nice. I haven't heard any of her like newer stuff, so I mean, I just go back to like the teenage days. And yeah, did she? I'm trying to think. I think. I mean, it's always like the classic ones, complicated and stuff like that. I always liked "What the Hell." I thought that was a really good one too. I think that was Avril Lavigne, right? So I thought that was kind of like a fun song. So maybe that one. I don't know. I'm not a huge Avril Lavigne fan, honestly. Again, I don't even know more than a few of her big hits. So I had a friend that was very much excited about Avril Lavigne back in our teenage years, but for me, it was not it. Yeah, I guess probably what the hell would be my guess. So I'm assuming. I hope that's actually an Avril Lavigne song, but I think it is. And Empty Kansas just sent the email with the pics. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. And yeah, I will post that up tomorrow for car of the week. Thank you. And Vishal says, will Honda come out with a hybrid powertrain for bigger cars like the Pilot? Toyota's eating their lunch with the hybrid offerings in that segment. I agree. I mean, I don't know. Honda doesn't do a very good job reading the room sometimes. They are very slow to respond to stuff. So I don't know. I mean, if yes, the logical answer is yes, like they have to do a hybrid everything. And I think Honda has said like they want to they're really pushing hard to get everything hybridized. So I think it's going to come. It's just a matter of, what do they do? Do they dish the V6 and then go down to, but then turbo fours, I guess you go to 2.0 T, just come up with something new. I don't know. They don't have anything right now, and I don't think 204 horsepower is going to cut it. Or even like, what do they do in the Accord? 230 or something, 224. Not going to be enough for a Pilot unless maybe for some people it would be, and maybe they would try that. I don't know. I guess it depends on how badly they want to rush it out and what they're working on. But I think, yes, they have to. Then I think they are really showing with, what we see with Accord with the lineup, now Civic with the lineup for 2025. They're really pushing hard into the hybrids. So they got to do some type of hybrid for the big stuff. I just don't know when, because I feel like it's going to be a while. Maybe we'll see it introduced with like a new next-gen Ridgeline and Passport first or something. I don't know. Because I think for 3-row crossovers, they're not as big of a hurry to, because there's not a ton right now. You still have Palisade and Telluride with, the V6 as well. And, even with, you've, Grand Highlander and Highlander, but outside of those two, there's not a ton that have hybrids. Pathfinder's not hybrid. The American stuff's not hybrid. So I think with Pilot, Honda has some time to be lazy and just kind of, coast on that one. But I think all the other stuff, is going to be, more and more hybrid going forward. So, yeah, but I think they've basically, they got the whole lineup covered at this point, right? Because you got Accord, Civic, CRV, and then I guess HRV. I think that's the next one. HRV is going to get it next. Look at this. Probably the same thing from the Civic. We'll go over at HRV. That'll be the next one. And then after HRV gets it, you'll probably have a little bit of a lull, and we'll probably see it for that large, platform for Pilot, Ridgeline, and Passport at some point down the road. Assuming all three of those vehicles continue, I think it'd be, fair to wager that Ridgeline and Passport maybe won't stick around forever. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know what they would do though. And they might even just stick with the V6 and just, put the E motor, try and find a way to incorporate that from the 4-cylinder stuff and just, combine those two together and, make it a little bit of a more sporty thing, kind of like they've kind of marketed the hybrids with the other stuff. Maybe that's the plays. Maybe they just take the electric stuff, put it on the V6, and it's an upgrade. I don't know. Sorry I missed the other super chats here. YouTube's not doing the best with informing me of those tonight. But Boof Technology, thank you so much for a super chat. They said, thoughts on the new M5 Touring. Would you pick the RS6 Performance or the M5 Touring for an everything car? I'd have to drive the M5 Touring first to say for sure. What I can say is I love the RS6 Avant. Love it. Haven't driven the performance version yet, but they're all super good. I love the Audis. I think also for me, I don't know. I like the Audi interiors better. I like the Audi styling better. Excuse me. So for me, without driving it, I'd probably say RS6 because I have driven that one and I know how. That's plenty fun for me. That even if the M5 is higher performing, I think I'd be totally happy with the RS6 still. But I'm excited for M5 Touring. It's so great they're finally bringing it here to the States. And I see you're in Canada as well, and glad to see that all of North America is going to be getting it here. And yeah, I think both of them would be fantastic everyday cars. For me, I think RS6 just looks a little meaner, and I don't know. Just for me, I just in the BMW versus Audi camp, I'm typically an Audi fan more so than a BMW one, especially with a lot of the styling of these new BMWs. And Jordan, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, vehicle movie worthy 2024 to 2025 concepts. Okay, so yeah, concepts that are movie worthy. I think the new Charger is going to probably be pretty cool if they incorporate that in the new Fast and Furious, and actually give that thing some screen time. That could be cool. And that's a really cool looking car too, that I think will make a really good statement on screen. Other than that, I don't know of movie worthy stuff. It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of bold stylings and stuff. I think Ioniq 5 is kind of a cool vehicle. It could be used, for sci-fi kind of stuff. It's just that and the Ioniq 6 are really like bold and out there. Could be cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised we haven't seen like more Bronco integrations in movies. I'm surprised that Ford hasn't tried to like spend some marketing dollars where you see all the Wranglers all the time. You don't see any of the Broncos. I feel like that could be, something that's potential there. I don't know. I think that's about it. I think Charger's really going to be the top one, and probably be used a lot in a variety of stuff probably in the future. And Luke, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, "Who's that? Not you, Matt. There's a girl behind you." Luke's got a fascination with a ghost girl haunting me. Apparently, I have no clue why, but I hope you're still enjoying your weekend there, Luke. And I want whatever Luke's on. I don't see any ghosts, but it'd be real fun to be a ghost spotter, I'm sure. You can have a whole reality show, and people could just follow you around, and you can make a bunch of money. And Vic, thank you for a super chat as well. He says, "Is there news on when the new GMC Terrain is coming out?" So GM. So I was just on the Acadia Drive this past week. And I don't think it's nothing embargoed about the Terrain thing. They basically just like showed like a picture of like the horizon of like basically the consensus is to expect it probably at some point this year. You're probably going to see Yukon first, and then Terrain. So I would expect Terrain sometimes toward the end of this year. But I believe it is. They said it's kind of going to be kind of coming, I believe, this year. Don't quote me on that. But that was kind of the thing that they showed us was, here's what's coming down the road, and Terrain is coming, I believe, towards the end of this year. I think we just saw some spy shots of it as well. So if you're really curious about the Terrain, if you Google 2025 Terrain, GMC Terrain spy shots, I think it was just spied. I wish I could show spy shots in the weekly updates, but I just can't anymore because I can't afford to pay the copyright to legally show those. But it is coming, I think, here this year. And Chad, thank you for another super chat. He says, Hybrid King, Ford, Toyota, or someone else. I think Toyota, to me, is still the Hybrid King for sure. I mean, because I think they have more hybrids than anybody. They have more of their lineup covered than anybody. And I think it's one of the better hybrid systems out there, if not the best. And yeah, I think they've been doing it longer than basically anybody as well. So I think from a reliability standpoint, like a trustworthy standpoint, and just like people who know what they're doing with hybrids and do them well, and then do them in everything essentially, I think Toyota can't be beaten. That's why Toyota's just still kicking butt with profits and sales and the demand for everything. Which, by the way, I've been seeing a bunch of new Camrys on my trip to DC this weekend. I saw maybe 4 or 5 new Camrys. They're really popping up. And I mean, they said they're going to build a ton of them. So I'm glad that's like finally a new Toyota people are going to actually buy for reasonable prices and get their hands on easily. Like, so refreshing. What a crazy idea, but I'm glad at least Camry's easy to get their hands on. And let me see. So, where was I? MD Can says he felt generous. I appreciate that as far as the membership gifting there. And Jay says next Fast and Furious sequels or trilogies are supposed to return to its roots, supposedly. So hopefully, just street racing and scenes, superhero villain defying stuff would be great. I agree. So are they doing? I thought like this was the end part one. Like, I thought there was only like one more movie. I know it's foolish to think they would actually ever be done with that series, but I thought there was just one more. If they're doing a whole nother trilogy, good grief, I don't have the strength to go into like the teens for these movies. This is ridiculous. But I'd love to see something get back to the roots. That would be great. The only thing I will say that's kind of tricky for them, and I don't envy their decision makers who have to figure out how to navigate that, is that a lot of that Hellcat kind of scene and like a lot of that street racing culture and stuff now has devolved into the like takeover scene, which is like just not a good thing in my opinion. And so trying to get back to like the roots, I mean, I guess if they maybe made it as like a retro kind of movie of like, let's pretend it's 2001 again, I could see that working. But I feel like, I mean, I'm out of the loop as far as street racing goes these days, but I feel like, there aren't like nice organized like street racing meets anymore. You have like nice car meets, but there's no street racing there if they're, above board, like, places where they're not trying to get banned and kicked out and be menaces to society. Usually there's no street racing there. So like meets are like one thing. And then street racing is another thing, which usually seems to devolve into the whole like takeover, like let's just like burn cars and actually not be enthusiasts, because what enthusiast would just like be lighting cars on fire for fun. But anyway, I don't know. I'm like, and I also like, maybe this is just me getting old, but like I also don't love the idea of glorifying street racing anymore. Like it was fun as a teenager and stuff, but like now as like a dad and like a responsible adult, I'm like, do I want to get a whole new generation excited about street racing? I mean, I'm sure that's a very unpopular opinion among enthusiasts, but I'm like the heist things, I think they were fun when they were like somewhat realistic. I guess they were never really fully realistic, but like, I thought like 4, 5, 6 were great. 7 was really like, I liked it because it was obviously the last one with Paul, but 7 was really, I think, when the stunts really got super outrageous. I mean, 6 certainly had some outrageous stuff as well. But I feel like, once they really went like 8 was just like really ridiculous. Same with 9 and stuff. I think these later ones were really the worst offenders, but I'd love to like just see like a good heist thing like they did with Fast 5. Like I thought that was so good. And like, yes, still not super realistic to be dragging a, safe around a city and stuff, but like, they kind of actually did some of those stunts. That was still back when they were using more practical effects and actually like breaking stuff and doing a lot more of that. So like, I don't know. I'd love to see the street racing thing. I think only as a look back, but even then, you could still get people excited about street racing. So I don't know. I'll just like I'll just leave that one be because I'm sure that'll probably be upsetting to hear from me for some people. But yeah, not in love with street racing anymore. Let me see. Raphael, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, I've been enjoying, but had to get to bed. Still recovering from a 4-hour surgery on Friday, so I'm loopy on medicine. Man, I hope you're doing well. Hope you have a fast recovery. Thanks for sort of stopping by and joining in, and hope everything's okay. Hopefully it was, not a bad surgery, and hope that whatever you're going through medically gets better soon. And rest up, and I hope you feel better soon. Thanks for stopping by, Raphael. And let me see. So, getting back to the member questions here. So Luke says, honestly, if I got rid of my 2020 TLX base, I would get the new Accord Hybrid EXL, 204 horsepower versus 206 that I have now. Similar features inside, an awesome MPG. Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a nice upgrade, and you get some good MPGs there. The new Accords are great for sure. Zachary says, I'm pretty sure John Cena has been doing voiceovers for Honda commercials for a while, so the Type R love is kind of a commercial. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it sounded like him. I never actually looked into whether I didn't ever confirm whether that was him or not. So I guess, yeah, maybe that's part of it. But you would think like they're paying him for voiceovers. Like, why don't they just like give him a new Type R? Instead, he's like, oh, I was going to get my oil changed and I just decided to swap over. I mean, maybe that's all just like a setup, and to me it comes off as genuine. So I don't know. Yeah, but maybe that whole thing was just like a very well done low key like marketing thing or something. I don't know. That's interesting. But if Honda's not just giving them a Type R at this point, like they're messing up, I think. It's it's such good advertisement for them. Dylan says the way you described Roush and Shelby America is how I felt about Callaway Corvettes. Yeah, same exact thing with them. I'd never get excited about the Callaway stuff. I don't even know. Do they still make stuff anymore? But I always thought that was the same thing. It's just like, who I get some people care, but like, do most people actually care? I just feel like that doesn't actually impress as many people as those owners think they do. um, and Luke, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, for a daily driver, what would you pick? A 2024 BMW 430 or a 2024 Audi A5 Sportback or a 2024 Nissan Z Performance? I mean, very different cars there. We got all-wheel drive, we got rear-wheel drive. For a daily driver, I think Sportback's going to be the most practical. So if practicality is important for you in a daily driver, I think the A5 wins there. If you want just fun, I think the Z is going to be the most fun of those three. And someone's got to buy a Z, because as we always talk about in these live streams, like no one's buying them. They're all sitting on dealer lots rotting, unfortunately. And like none of us have actually seen like more than one or two Z's out in the wild since they've been on sale for 2 years now or whatever. So yeah, I'd say probably Z would be the most fun. And it's comfortable enough for the Z. I mean, it's not amazing. If you want the most luxury possible, one of the Germans there is going to be better for you. But yeah, if you like practicality and need a car that's easier to live with, though, I think the A5 Sportback is probably going to be the best bet there. And thank you, Luke, for another super chat. And let me see. So Hugo says the Evo will probably happen, just not in America because America loves big cars only. I mean, I haven't heard any speculation about anything in Japan either. I think Mitsubishi, I mean, they're going to be fine from a financial standpoint. They're a giant company in other parts of the world still, so there's no worries there from that perspective. But as far as justifying a new rally car, I just don't think they can justify it. I wish they could, but just to me, I would not bet on a new Evo ever coming back. And Jay says, note to all AI is getting too good. Don't trust your Tinder dates. LOL, feel like I'm subbing in for 2 tonight. Yeah, I know 2's not here. I was going to blame him on my refrigerator breaking, that, he snuck out of the basement here while I was out of town this weekend and messed with my refrigerator to get back at me for being chained to the radiator, as he likes to put it. So, but yeah, I don't know. 2 must be busy tonight, but hope he's doing well too. And Jay also says John Cena voiceovers for Honda and China advertisements are been shown with ice cream cone and Honda would be great. Yeah, I mean, I'm fully in support of John Cena and all the stuff. He seems to be pretty cool. And let me see. B. Mitchell says, not to beat a dead refrigerator, but picking up a backup garage fridge has saved my bacon more than once, pun intended. By the way, International Harvesters started with freezers and fridges, but making milk coolers in the 30s. Crazy. Yeah, it's getting a backup fridge is definitely a good idea. Wouldn't have saved us this time though, because again, it was like everything was already warm by the time we got home. Since we were out of town this weekend. But yeah, and the good thing is, like in the past, if we've had like a long power outage or something, like we have other family members and stuff really close that we can load up coolers and take it over to someone else's house if we need to. But yeah, and I also see YN or WNY, they're saying, are we keeping you up? If you're referring to my yawns, no, I was driving. I drove back from DC today. So about 4.5, 5 hours on the road, just a little extra tired today, but I'm still doing good. And we'll keep going here for another half an hour. But let me see. So Mike says, do you think the CX7090 should have gotten adaptive dampers and higher trims? I don't think so. Cause I mean, it rides great and it's dynamic enough that I'm not sure, you know, I can't even think like if they had dampers that went into a softer mode, I really don't think there would be that much to gain because you can't get too much softer in those cars. Like they did a really good job of blending comfort and the sportiness, and I think it's just really well done. So I don't think it needs adaptive dampers, honestly. I think it would have been a waste. And extra complexity again. As every day goes by with more and more complicated things breaking, if you can do passive dampers and do them well like Mazda has in those vehicles, leave them passive. Just one more thing to break. Austin says they should build fridges out of Mazda 2.5 motors. There we go. That's the right thinking. Then we can have some strong little refrigerators that last a long time. Let me see. So Mike says, Matt, are you surprised GM hasn't doubled back and tried to develop either a Blazer or something else on the car on a platform to compete with the 4Runner and now the Bronco? Big head scratcher. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. You're right. I mean, they should have done it for the first gen Colorado. I mean, this should have been something we should have had Blazers for the past 10 years that are body on frame things. And it's so easy. It's so easy. It would have been so easy to justify. You already did all the work with the platform. You did all the work with the interior and everything. Literally just put a cap on the back of it and charge more. Like that's all they had to do. And again, you would see them, selling 4Runners that are ancient vehicles, and they still sell what do they sell? 120,000 of those a year, 80,000, whatever it is. It's a far bigger number than it should be, honestly, for 4Runner. And people just keep buying them. And yeah, Ford finally got the message and did Bronco, which also still, I think Bronco is really just going after Wrangler. I think that Ford is also still missing the boat here because why we don't have a Ranger with a cab on the back that's Everest. That's the rest of the world gets the Everest, which makes a bunch of sense. And we love SUVs here and, rugged stuff that's body on frame. Why Everest wasn't greenlit, a decade ago, again, blows my mind as well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm never like bold enough to like call out car companies on these events as far as like stuff like that. Cause, usually it's like we're in a nice setting where, everyone's friendly, everyone's happy. And I want to be like, so like, what's going on? Like, why don't you have a proper Blazer? Like, it's just kind of ruins the vibe there. But there's times where I'll try and like work in, some more annoying questions. And where was I? I was, oh yeah. Well, you'll see. I'm under embargo for GMC Acadia. That video will be coming out here this coming week. And I make some points in that video. And I actually talked to some of the employees about some of my points. And we can chat more about this next week if anyone's curious and remembers. But I actually kind of was like, why'd you do this? A couple of times, like in that. And again, I can't say anything more than that, but stay tuned for the review on that this next week, and we can chat more about that in the next live stream. But that was one where I actually was like, all right, like I need to like talk about some of this stuff because there's some real burning questions that I don't want to go home with. So and thankfully they did answer some of them in a way. But yeah, a lot of times there's always some corporate reason that doesn't seem like it's a very, what's the word? A very convincing excuse, but that's the supposed reason. But yeah, I don't understand either. And you think the accountants would be jumping all over something like that too, that like it'd be an easy thing to approve and give it the green light because it's so cheap and easy to build and would be, such a hot seller. But I don't know. If anyone would like to hire me as a product planner, I'm accepting applications or offers, I guess I should say. But anyway, Michelle says, I went on a VinFast test drive recently, was impressed with the interior build quality. It felt very BMW-like in the materials and fit and finish and rode well too. Nice. Well, I think the VinFast use some BMW components, if I remember correctly. So that would be explaining why it might feel pretty nice inside with BMW like quality there. Obviously there's some stuff that's not BMW, but I think some of the stuff is like, I think the switchgear and stuff is, if I'm not mistaken. And Yeah, I wouldn't mind test driving one now that it seems they've sorted stuff out, because I did talk to someone that owned a VinFast a couple weeks ago, and they were actually really impressed with it. They liked it. They said, for the money, I think they offered it to them for half price, which is insane as well. But if it's half price of what it's advertised at, then I can see it making a whole lot of sense, or even something close to that kind of a deal, to make a lot of sense. To take a chance on, especially since it seems like they at least have their stuff together a little bit better than Fisker does. And it seems like the thing that I appreciate about VinFast so far is that, they had the big fiasco on the first media drive where, the vehicles were just like complete basket cases, but they like really took the criticisms to heart and they, took it constructively, and went back, and it seems like they're really working hard. They're listening to people and then like actually implementing that stuff in changes quickly and working hard and just coming up to it from a very humble kind of perspective, which I think is really impressive and commendable. I don't ever fault anyone for getting something wrong, but I do fault people for being like, oh yeah, well I still think it's the best and it's whatever. Like everyone makes mistakes, everyone makes bad judgment calls sometimes. That's fine. But then if you own it and you say, okay, I'm going to get better as a result, I'm going to improve my product, I'm going to improve myself, whatever the case is, that is the hugely respectable thing. But there's so many car companies even that, oh, well, this is the way it must be done. And, I've been praising, Mazda a bunch tonight, but the Mazda is another one where it's like, they are swearing up and down, like it's safer to use a controller wheel than touchscreen. And I mean, the Mazda controller wheel, I really don't have a problem with it anymore. It's totally fine. This entire weekend driving the CX-70, 500 miles, I use CarPlay exclusively, basically. And, so I never interact with the Mazda system at all. So it's fine. But, the Mazda is one of those companies that like these did not want to add a touchscreen forever. They thought this is the best way. And it's like, just like read the room. Everyone wants a touchscreen. Just put a touchscreen in. Like, you don't need to be a contrarian for fun. Like, and they, finally have loosened up and at least added the touch, integration for CarPlay and Android Auto there, which is all at least I wanted. And I'm just, happy that they've finally taken that criticism to heart, but it took them so long. So yeah, it's always refreshing whenever companies and people can take criticism like that well and just make the stuff better. Omar says, has the Civic Type R 2016 to 2021 seen its lowest price point in your opinion? Yeah, I'd say at this point it's probably hovering close to, I don't think, there'll be the natural depreciation curve that'll still happen there, I think, a little bit. I don't think it's bottomed out by any means. I think as they get older, they will continue to drop a little bit. They're not quite collectible or anything, because I think everyone, for the most part, would probably rather upgrade to the new ones if they had the funds, for it. So I think that you're going to still see the old ones continue to rack up miles, continue to get older, and continue to get less desirable. And so therefore they will drop, I think, more. But I think, the big drop off that we probably saw, the initial one of everyone that had the money dumping their old one for the new one, that has already, I think, passed at this point. Everyone that's wanted a Type R probably already has one at this point, that at least, can comfortably afford them. So I think, you're not going to see, it's going to be a slower drop, I guess, but I think it will continue to go down, but not quite as fast. So if you're waiting for the perfect time to buy, I feel like at this point, it's probably as good a time as any. If you're paying cash, I guess that is, otherwise wait for lower interest rates or something if you're not in a hurry. But yeah, I think they're going to keep probably going down a little bit, I'd say. And Mike says, also, Matt, what do you think is the fate of the regular Highlander? It'll eventually get killed off, turned into an EV, or possibly turn into a two-row that somehow is differentiated from Crown Signia. I think whenever I read the article about, it going EV, that made so much sense, because that's the only way to really differentiate it in this very crowded Toyota lineup we have right now for the SUVs. And everyone's been pushing back on the BZ thing as well, which is another case of like everyone being like, we don't like this, no one likes this, like just stop. And like I hope that they do reverse course on those names, because I just don't think they're very memorable. But so that would be a good way of them being like, okay, we recognize maybe the BZ thing's not the way to name these. And like, yeah, do we have so much overlap here? Who's not going to pay, a couple grand more for a Grand Highlander over a regular Highlander? And so my bet would be Highlander goes electric, and that's going to be the new 3-row thing that I believe is coming next year, or is it 2026? One or the other. So I think that would be my bet. I don't think they can justify another thing to squeeze in between Crown Signia and RAV4 and stuff. So I think it's going to have to be the EV thing. Oh, excuse me. And let me see. So, and Jay says, if a manufacturer like Toyota and Honda made a fridge, Matt would go for the Toyota, not no tech companies now manufacturers. Yeah, I would definitely say Toyota is still the most reliable brand, so I would trust them to make stuff. But yeah, preferably just have companies stick to the thing they're good at. That is my vote. Let appliance companies make appliances, make car companies do cars, and let the tech companies stick to the glitchy tech that they can get away with. What's the word? Corner cutting on without any repercussions, really. And David says, my last LG fridge was over $4,000 and broke within 3 years. Utter garbage. Man, that is really bad. Yeah, they're not good. If you're joining this live stream late, we were complaining in the beginning here because my 6-year-old LG fridge just decided not to work this weekend, and so that's been fun. But so yeah, stay away from LG and Samsung fridges for anyone that's late joining into the live stream here. Sorry I missed the other super chats here too. I'm not sure. Again, just keeps YouTube is not notifying me. But Jordan, thank you for another super chat. He says, me and Chad predict a 2-door electric Mustang lithium. I hope that you are right, but the way Jim Farley's talking, it's never going to happen. So I agree with you. It would be a good move, I think, and maybe they will have their mind get changed if the Charger EV does happen to do pretty well sales-wise, but I wouldn't bank on it as long as Jim Farley is CEO, at least. And Chad, thank you for another super chat. He says, Chevy Volt, a good buy as far as maintenance and reliability goes. It seems like they're pretty durable. It seems like people really have a good time with them. I did see something recently, I guess one of the years or something, the battery pack is under an extended warranty. It needed the battery replaced, but I can't remember exactly which one. I would look into it a little bit and try and do some Googling on that, or go on a Volt, forum or Facebook page or something for some extra advice if you are really looking closely at those. But Volts seem great. I've never driven one, but they have a very dedicated cult following, and people, I think it was so ahead of its time. I mean, everyone now is trying to do these high mileage plug-in hybrids, and the Volt did 50 some miles of plug-in hybrid range, 10 years ago. It's just incredible. That was one of those brilliant things Chevy did that they got no credit for and had no sales success for. And it's just a shame, because seems like it's a really good little car. I thought it was actually styled pretty well too, and just unfortunate. And Jordan also says, Walmart becoming a rental hub. I appreciate the super chat, Jordan. I hadn't heard about that. This is news to me. I see TFI beneath there says Walmart rental cars would consist of Altima G35 Charger 300. That is exactly right. You picked the exact top 4 cars, 100%. That's funny. I agree, but I hadn't heard about them being a rental car hub. I guess it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I'll have to check into that. Thanks for the heads up on that. And yeah, I don't know how that would go. I guess rental cars already get beat up badly enough that if you have people just grabbing one from a Walmart casually, that I guess wouldn't be much worse on those cars. I don't know. And let me see. So Dylan says, I'm curious how the Ineos Grenadier is. Hopefully you get to review one. I'd like to. I actually saw 3 new ones on a truck being transported today on the highway. I was like, oh, sweet. Like it's the first time I've seen them, like brand new ones getting transported like that. I saw a ton of trucks with Mustangs too today. I saw like, I think 3 separate trucks with 2024 Mustangs and Broncos on them. And I saw a bunch of cool car carriers. And the one other thing when I was in DC that I could not believe is we were sitting out at a restaurant just eating, and I always love sitting outside, along the street there so I can car spot. There was a couple that drove by in a Mini Cooper SE, the electric one, that, mind you, I think has like 115-mile range, 120-mile range, and it had Alaska plates on it in Washington, D.C. And surely they must have shipped it. There is no way, because otherwise they must have started the road trip back in January to get to DC by June if you have 110-mile range or whatever. But I'm like, man, of all the cars that you wouldn't expect to see, I mean, obviously an Alaska plate in Washington, D.C. is crazy already, but on a Mini Cooper SE, I'm like, that takes the cake for the bingo card that I would have never predicted there. I mean, that is just insane. So that was my fun little spot of the weekend here. We see Jay says, I wonder, since Toyota killed the Venza for the second time for the Crown Signia, they should get rid of the Corolla Cross and the BZ4X. I guess I haven't looked in Corolla Cross versus HRV sales comparisons. I haven't either. I don't know. I think Corolla Cross, I don't think it's doing quite as well as Toyota thought it would. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have any info. This is just me. I just thought it would do better, and I think Toyota probably had higher hopes for it than. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're happy with the sales numbers. I don't know, but I think the BZ4X was always kind of a compliance car in some ways. I mean, I don't think they phoned it in. I think they worked hard on it, but I just feel like that one, it's kind of always like whatever, we'll put it out there, say we have it, and that's it. But the Corolla Cross, definitely was poised to be something more. And it's a shame that it hasn't done super well. I mean, it's probably doing well enough for them, but I mean, honestly, compared to the HRV, I would rather have HRV. It's quieter, it's more luxurious inside. And Corolla Cross has a few more horsepower, but it's not enough to make it wildly faster. And Corolla Cross is also a little noisy inside. That's the only thing about those I don't love, honestly. And Vishal says, when's an RDX redesign coming? Also surprising we haven't seen a Type S version of that real head scratcher. That's another one. Yeah, it's a shame we haven't seen that as well. I don't know if it's just they're not able to hook up the Type R motor, which is, I guess, the way they would do that is just Type R 10-speed all-wheel drive, and they probably just can't figure that one out. Although they have the 10-speed in the Type S, I guess they could just use the TLX motor. And that should fit in the RDX, I'm guessing. Just copy and paste that whole thing. That is a head scratcher. I agree. As far as RDX redesign, I would assume that's coming soon. But it seems like TLX, RDX. Sorry, I don't know why I'm yawning so much here. I promise I'm not bored. I'm just so tired. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. RDX. I haven't seen any spy shots of that or TLX. But surely they have to be coming out with new versions soon. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to keep it going for a while or something. Or maybe they're hoping ZDX replaces it or something. I have no clue. But yeah, I will keep an eye out. If I hear any reports of a new RDX, I will definitely report back in the weekly update. And Zachary says, what are some rare but normal cars you can think of? Well, one that I saw just today, it was another wow, I haven't seen one of those in forever, was the Lexus IS convertible. Is a hardtop convertible, and they only made it a couple of years. And I couldn't tell you the last time I saw one of those until today. And I was like, wow, that was one of those things. And that's the stuff that's the stuff that impresses me the most these days, is those types of things where it's like, man, I haven't seen one of those in forever. That's crazy. More so than the exotics and the, souped up stuff or whatever. So that was the one that really took the cake today. As far as other rare but normal stuff, I mean, there's some weird combos. When's the last time you saw a Chevy Cruze hatch? They sold those I think they actually sold those with a manual and I think a diesel as well for a very brief period of time. And there's probably 5 people that appreciate that. And they probably sold about 5 of them as well. But they have those like weird, quirky things. Um, it's also interesting whenever I see a diesel Escalade or Tahoe. And I actually saw a diesel Escalade the other day, I think, and I was like, wow, like someone went for the diesel. I can't believe it. But there's those types of things, which I think actually could potentially someday be super valuable because they are really rare. Rarity isn't a guarantee for any kind of desirability, though, in the car world, but could be. There's always a potential there. But can't think of any others, though, off the top of my head. But yeah, it was cool to see the convertible IS because that was one of those vehicles. Like I feel like very few people actually were excited about that. But another one that I also never see is the convertible G37s. Those are also like really rare around here. But that's another one that's just really coolly offered that. And let me see. Robert, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, "Hey Matt, tough question for you. If you can pick any 3 cars to own for the rest of your life and not sell or buy any other cars, what would they be?" One would be my old Bullet. I'd buy that back. The other 2 to own for the rest of my life and not sell or buy. I guess if we need them to be like reliable cars that last for the next 40, 50 years, however long I have here. I mean, honestly, if something's gonna last that long, I'm probably gonna go Toyotas. I'd probably say if I wanted another fun car, like LC 500 convertible, something like that, I'd trust one of those to go a long time and not kill the bank account. So that would be one. And then I don't know. I mean, for the other one, I mean, I guess if it's gonna have to last that long, I'd probably just go with like an old Forerunner or something like that. Not an exciting vehicle by any means. Personally, I'm not into like the off-road stuff, but if it's something that I know needs to last that long, then I'd probably go for just something like that. Honestly, yeah, I can't think of anything better if I had to keep a car for the next like 50 years. But hopefully that answers your question, and feel free to ask any follow-ups as well. I'll keep an eye out for those. So yeah, and thank you again for the super chat. That's and now I'm like thinking of other stuff, but I really feel like that's probably it. I mean, maybe I'd like go for a RAV4 or something instead of the Forerunner, just to have something a little easier to live with. It also, I'm assuming, should last a good long while and be good. And let me see. So, yeah, Trent Carter says, "Can't confirm rentals get absolutely trashed." Yep, that's for sure. Jason's, anything on the Red Line / Matt Moran membership summer plan meet? Sophia and Rob, Matt, Beth, and Minnie Beth. That'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, I know Sophion does say he wants to, come to Pittsburgh sometime here, and I said, I'd definitely be happy to have him here, and yeah, we'd like to do, another collab in the future as well. But yeah, no updates on that or anything. He just got married and all that, so I think they're just kind of busy with all of that, and I'm sure that's the main thing they've been focused on here. As anyone that's wedding planned is familiar with all the demands of that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I'm hoping we can do some more stuff together here soon, and always great to see Sophion on the events. He's him and Rob are both always a good time hanging out with them. And I see TFI says double date with Sophia and Rob, Matt and Beth. Yeah, anytime we'd love to. That'd be awesome. And Beth has actually never met Sophia, so we always talking about how we all gotta meet up someday. So hopefully we'll get to do that here soon. And B. Mitchell says Alaska plate in DC. I mean, staffer from a congressman or senator from there. Alaska registration also tends to be pretty portable for out-of-state use, but not like Montana. Gotcha. Good answer. Yeah, that is a much better explanation. Totally makes sense. And thanks for clearing that up for me, because I hadn't even thought of that. So very good point. And cool, they went for a Mini Cooper SE though. That's fun. Especially for a congressman or a senator. But Vishal says, ever since the news of the Super Legacy being discontinued came out, I've been seeing more of them. Funny how that works. Yeah, I can't remember what the mental phenomenon is that is, where it's like, yeah, once you become aware of something, whether you're car shopping for a car or yeah, something about that, like if you're in a new relationship and your significant other drives a type of vehicle, then you start to see that everywhere or something. It's like, yes, there's a very real thing where it's like our brains are so insanely intelligent sometimes with the way they can compensate for things and cope with things, and also just like the way, things that just seem like coincidences are really just your brain playing tricks on you, where it's like you're not actually seeing more legacies. It's that you are more aware of that, and the stuff your brain filters through as far as stuff that it just ignores and the stuff that it doesn't ignore and points out to you as like, oh, that's something to pay attention to. It's like, it's so fascinating. And I think that is a lot of the reason why, I think that explains a lot of things that we see these days in pop culture, and people being like, oh, this is a really strange coincidence. Like, why are we seeing more of this all of a sudden? It's like, because you're looking for it all of a sudden. Like, and there's just things like that where it's like people are actually getting played by their own mind more than they're getting played by conspiracy theories or whatever. It's just kind of funny. And there's another example of that recently I just came across. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, the brain is a powerful thing. Let me see. Jay says, did you get an invite to the Acura that got a Type S event? I think it was a hybrid or an EV ZDX, I think. Acura did an event for ZDX. Yeah, was it like a month or two ago? Didn't get that. Honda and Acura don't invite me to stuff anymore. I'm not sure. I said no to a bunch of stuff during the COVID times, and so I don't know if they took that as like me not being interested in their products for launch stuff anymore, even though they send me press cards pretty early most of the time. But yeah, I'm not sure why, but I'm so swamped with trips, and I was just talking with some others as well, and I don't know how much these other YouTubers have talked about this publicly, so I'm not gonna like I'll let them say that themselves if it's something that they want to talk about. I mean, a lot of us are just talking more and more about how there's so much more travel with trips that like I could go and ask Honda and Acura, like, hey, please invite me on more stuff. But I'm like, do I want to travel more? Like, I want to travel less, honestly, So like, there's some of that where I'm just like, I'm slowly getting okay with like, a lot of times going in these trips, it's a lot of fun and I love it. It's so great to hang out with everybody and stuff. But it's a lot of work. Sometimes a lot of the events are planned very well, but there's other times where they aren't planned very well and there's a time crunch involved and things like that, and it's just a little bit tougher to do a good video. And I'm honestly like, especially since I now am not one of the top competitors as far as reviews goes anymore, like I'm starting to become more and more content with just getting them as press vehicles later, waiting for the excitement to die down, and post my video after the fact. And a lot of times those do better, so instead of pulling my hair out and losing 3 days of work, with flying to the West Coast and back twice a month or whatever, it's just like, why not, just get that extra time that I desperately need, stay home and wait for the car to be dropped off in my driveway, So I think I'm going to do, a little more of that and just try and cut back on the traveling. Thankfully, the summer's a little bit slower, so it'll be a nice time to like kind of refresh, kind of, figure things out a little bit more. But I feel like going into the fall, I'm going to probably try and pull back on travel a little bit because I feel like a lot of times it doesn't pay off. I mean, like the Toyota Tacoma video, for example, I like spent so much time working on that video. I worked so hard on that Tacoma video that I posted up last fall, and it got like, I still don't think it's gotten 10,000 views. And then I just do a little like my week with thing of me like just driving down the road, being like, yeah, here's the fuel economy I got in the new Tacoma. Here's my thoughts of living with it for a week. Quick little video, took me all of 30 minutes to film. Took me probably another 30 minutes to edit it. I mean, super easy to make, and it got like 4 times the views, So there's those types of things. Just trying to be smart about when I go on things and when I don't. So anyway, like very long-winded answer, Jay, but getting back to your question, they don't invite me on stuff, but I'm not losing sleep over it anymore. So it's all good. And I will probably get a ZDX. I'm kind of I don't know if I'm gonna say a ton of nice things about those vehicles, so I don't shy away from negative reviews, as I've made very clear in the past. But those are like vehicles I'm also not going out of my way to review. If they need to schedule me in one, to keep the press rotation going of vehicles, then like whatever, I'll take one. But I don't have high hopes for any of that stuff. Just the Chevy switchgear on the inside just to me is not acceptable, and it just still doesn't feel like it's a fully Honda effort. And the people I've talked to that have driven it, some of them have said like it doesn't feel like a Honda either, or an Acura. And so, I mean, I respect them trying to get out there quickly with the EVs, and getting their stake in the ground as fast as they can. But I don't know. Those are probably some of the most like underwhelming vehicles I've seen in the past year or two. I mean, I think to me, the best thing about them is they offer CarPlay. If you want the Ultium platform from GM and you can't get CarPlay, and any of that stuff, then I'd say by all means, go get yourself a Prologue, a ZDX, and get the CarPlay that Chevy and GM refuse to give you. So I think it's great for that reason. And I'm happy to recommend them to anyone that's in that very specific situation. Because I'm sure, again, it's going to drive like any other Ultium vehicle for the most part, and that's fine. They all drive very well. And so, it's nothing against the GM bones. It's just like if I'm buying a Honda, I want it to feel like a Honda, and I don't want it to feel like a GM vehicle, um, so yeah, there's just some of that stuff that I think is, again, combined with the materials and stuff in those Honda and the Acura, they're just not making for something that I'm running out to try and review immediately. But anyway, I see we've already passed 2 hours here. I didn't even notice. So I'll answer the last few member questions here briefly, and I see we got some more super chats as well. Jose, thank you for a super chat. And I see the question beneath that. He says, what do you think about a Chevy SS for a daily driver? I hear it's going up in price. I hadn't heard that they've gone up in price. If they are starting to appreciate, then yes, get in one as fast as you can, because the SS is magical. And I think that they've always been underrated. And if people are finally starting to appreciate SSs, I am fully in support of that. But yeah, I love the SS. I mean, the interior is not amazing for the price. It's, a kind of a mess of buttons and stuff on the inside there, but it's all forgivable because that chassis is fantastic. You can get it with a manual, with a V8, and the active exhaust. And I think that last 1 or 2 model years, especially, those are the real best ones to get. I mean, they're all great regardless. I did a couple SS reviews, by the way. If you haven't seen my SS videos, they were from a long time ago, back when they were new. But check out my SS videos. You want all my coverage on those. But I mean, I still feel the same way about them that I felt back then. I think they've aged very well. They are fantastic. So fun. And probably, as far as rear wheel drive sports sedans goes, it's right up there. I'd say I almost look at the SS as like a first gen of the like ATSV, CTSV kind of vehicles. It's that same like amazing chassis tuning from those GM engineers, with great manual, great V8 that's going to be reliable, and it also flies under the radar, I think, which I think, especially you have all the, loudmouths and the Chargers and Challengers and all that these days. Like if you want something that's a little different from the norm of, all the Vin Diesel, wannabes out there and stuff, again, I love the Charger and Challenger. I don't want to talk smack on them, but like SS is unique and different and rare and stands out. And I'd all day, every day rather have an SS over, a Charger, I think, just because of the manual, the fantastic handling, and just the different, factor there. So love SSs, and I'd like to revisit one, honestly, if I can get my hands on one, but they're really rare. But if they're going up in price, I hadn't heard that. If they are, get on that before they keep going up, because I think that if more and more people start to figure out the brilliance of those cars, then they will definitely keep going up in price, I think. And thank you, Jose, for the super chat again as well. And Jordan, thank you for a super chat as well. He says, concept cars featured in films, pros and cons of that. I think it's great. I think it's a win-win for everybody, because the concept car gets more exposure outside of the auto show circuit and, car enthusiasts, and films get really cool props they don't have to make themselves, and so again, that's another thing I'm surprised we haven't seen more of, honestly. But yeah, I think you saw a lot of that in the 80s and stuff. It's such a shame that GM, if you saw, they started crushing some of their like concept cars for some reason. A couple of them were in, I can't remember, it was like RoboCop or something like that, and they just like started getting rid of some of that stuff. And I don't know why, because like they didn't take care of them, I guess. But still, I would have like wanted to like keep those around, for just historical purposes. And for some reason, probably the same person at GM that is saying no to a Colorado-based Blazer must be the one that's saying yes to let's crush all of our cool concept cars. So I don't know who's making these decisions, but anyway, typical GM stuff. And Jordan, thank you for another super chat. He says only iPhone and Android, no other tech. As far as, I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but yeah, I'm a pretty good Apple user. I've, most of my stuff here, I'm in the Apple ecosystem, so iPhone for me. But I have other people I know that really like the Android stuff too. So it just comes down to personal preference there. But member questions here quickly, and then like I said, I'm going to sign off here in a few. But Super Steve says, hey Matt, have you seen the Jalopnik article? You cowards hated the Supra for its BMW components, so now it's dying. The title says it all. Do you think it's actually the case, or is it just the Z4? So I covered in the weekly update how the rumor is that Supra is going away in 2026. I hadn't read that article, but yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna regret not jumping on Supra back when it was around, because I think it's an amazing motor. Yes, it's a BMW motor, but it's like one of the best motors in production today right now. The B58, everyone loves the B58. It's reliable. It makes great power. It's very mod friendly. It's just, yeah, I don't know why. I think it was just, it's a popular thing to be, turning your nose up to stuff and being salty about everything these days. But I feel like that's going to be one people are going to like regret that. And I mean, Supras have held the value pretty well, so I think there is enough appreciation for them. But I envision Supra someday appreciating as well, for sure, because there's gonna be a lot of people that are like, man, I snoozed on that, and now what do I have to pick from? And are going to regret not hopping on those sooner. And Michelle says, I saw a Dodge Dart on the road today. Haven't seen one of those in a few years now. Those in the 200s really disappeared off the roads after a lease period, it seems. Yeah, I mean, I see Darts every once in a while, but 200s are really rare. I agree. And the 200 was a good car. I reviewed one back when they were new and in the press fleet. I really liked it. I thought it was attractive looking. The interior was great. It was really smart with the packaging for like a lot of storage space for a sedan back then. And I thought it was fine. I mean, it had the Pentastar V6, so it should last a while. I don't know why else they would be not on the roads anymore, but the 200s are great. That was another car I just did not get the love it deserved. I think Chrysler really did a good job with that and the Dart, and people just didn't have the appreciation for them. I think Darts, some of them got a little unreliable, the ones with the Fiat motor or whatever, but I think the ones with the 2.4 naturally aspirated one, should have been pretty solid. And yeah, it's a shame. And B. Mitchell said, I know for certain of the Cruise diesel, one of my buddies was horny for one when it was new, but he is a diesel loony, currently has an X3 diesel. Nice. Okay, so yeah, there was the diesel Cruise. Okay, well, thank you for confirming that, B. Mitchell. And yeah, I can't imagine. Probably more, maybe a couple hundred of those out in the wild. I don't even know. And Super Steve says, is it just being discontinued because of the Z4? Yeah, basically, Supra, and it's just that BMW doesn't want to do the Z4 anymore. And but I mean, I'm honestly surprised it's going to go till 2026 if the reports are correct. There's nothing confirmed or official, I don't think yet. But yeah, that's the reason why. It's just that they use the same platform and stuff. They're both built in Magna Steyr side by side in Austria there, and I think they can't justify it without the Z4, I think. And Jay is answering the question earlier about Matt's 3 choices for cars I could never sell. His Bullet, CT5V Blackwing, and RS5/RS7. CT5V Blackwing for sure. Yeah, if I'm going for stuff I don't have to worry about reliability on, I mean, Blackwing should be pretty reliable, honestly, but yeah, Blackwing is definitely one of them. And yeah, I don't know what the other one would be. Honestly, maybe a Miata or something, because I still love convertibles. So I'd probably say, okay, TFI says GR Corolla. That's actually it. That, you know what, that is right. Because if I need something that's also going to drive in snow, and I got Bullet and Blackwing, I gotta have GR Corolla, yeah, for the all-wheel drive. So that's it. Yep. Thank you, TFI and Jay, for answering my question better than I did. So yes, that's the lineup there: GR Corolla, Bullet, and Blackwing. Absolutely, that would be amazing. And Jose says, what do you think about the Chevy SS? Okay, sorry, I just saw that again. Trent Carguy says, my Magnum Charger, Scat Pack, Lancer Evo, and E46 M3 for him. Yeah, nice. Good lineup as well. David says, Kona N is a daily. Any thoughts? Well, MDKN can give you thoughts on that if he's still hanging around here. But Kona N seems like a great daily. I never got to live with one for a week. They never had one in my press fleet. So I just drove it on the media launch, and that was it. But I really like the Kona N. I think, it's a little bouncy and stuff, but if you're looking at it as like a bigger hot hatch, you'll have no complaints, I don't think. And Garth Walker says, are you testing any new Lincoln products? The new Nautilus is pretty nice. Not an SUV fan, but it's well done. I'm getting a Nautilus here actually this week, though, dropping it off. But they're so slow to get it to me. I mean, the Nautilus has been out forever, I feel like. So, like, that's one of the ones. I have a pretty long backlog right now, so that video won't get posted till probably August. But I will be spending a week in a Nautilus here this coming week. Yeah, I'm excited to try it out. And let me see. So Goth Rocker says, a rare normal car, Infiniti Q60, such a neat, stylish coupe. I might still buy one with all-wheel drive one day. Fast luxury coupe that looks great, would look good next to my Continental. I agree. Q60s are beautiful cars. I really enjoyed the ones that I drove as well. And yeah, I don't see too many of those either. You're right. That is pretty rare. So another good one there. And Jay says, hopefully by the time you read this, have a good night, and thanks for all your inputs, Matt. Good luck, and have fun spending money on a reliable fridge. Best of luck and health for you and your family. I appreciate that, Jay. Thank you for the kind words there, and hope you guys all have a great week here. I'll answer Jordan saying, I think Jordan from another super chat there, he says, phone tech, why just Android or iPhone? Another route. Gotcha. So I think, yeah, it's I think to me, smartphones are like pretty well sorted. So there's, I don't know, to me, like that's not as much of a issue compared to like appliances or cars or things like that. And also phones are a lot cheaper. So there's that component as well. But yeah, I mean, I think I see TFI is also saying how there's some dumb phones that are out there as well, which, are kind of another way to go. Yeah, you can get some basic phones. I think there's a certain appeal to that as well, for sure. Even a nostalgic, thing with the old phones would be kind of fun. But yeah, it'd be cool to see another competitor come up to challenge the Android stuff and the iPhone stuff. But it's just when you have those two giants and trying to cut into that business is definitely tough. And TFI says, OGs remember the Windows Phone and the BlackBerry. Yeah, I thought both of them had promise. Especially, I thought the Windows Phone, when those first came out, I really liked the operating system, like the user interface. I thought it was really cool. I mean, I already had an iPhone at that point, but like I was like kind of tempted by the Windows Phone when it first came out. And then I don't know, I guess just like the support wasn't there and just didn't seem like it was, as sorted as the iPhone. That was kind of, I think, part of what kept me away as well. He says everything was smooth, but no apps. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I think I can't remember what it was on it that turned me off, but yeah, cool stuff. And let me see. Slammed says, well, I got here at the end. I will have to rewatch it now. Sounds good. I think we had a good live stream here. Hope you enjoy the rewatch there, and I hope you're having a good weekend, Slam Sedan, and have a good week. Super Steve also says, SSs were very loaded when they were sold, which contributed to the high price tag when they were sold new. Yeah, definitely. They were expensive for sure, but I think they're worth it. And Trident Car Guys says, have a good week, everyone. And yeah, everyone else is saying the same. So anyway, yeah, thank you all so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. And I hope you had a great time here tonight. And I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you next week on the live stream, and stay tuned for more reviews this week. I was going to post one tomorrow, but if I have to spend a bunch of time tomorrow refrigerator shopping instead, I might not get the video I want posted tomorrow. So we will see. Try and still do 2 car reviews this week. And stay tuned. If nothing else, GMC Acadia will be coming out here on the 13th. So stay tuned for that one here this week. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great week once again, and take care.